Chapter 3097. That's enough. Don't really kill him. The middle-aged man glanced at Zhuo Xiaocheng and stepped forward to stop the young man. Even if you kill Zhuo Tiansheng, he won't know. We can still threaten him. The young man snorted. Do you think he's so stupid that he will give us what we want before seeing his son with his own eyes? The middle-aged man glared at him. All right. The young man nodded and kicked Zhuo Xiaocheng in the stomach, sneering, You should be glad that you're Zhuo Tiansheng's son, or you'd be a corpse now. Zhuo Xiaocheng lay on the ground, wailing. The middle-aged man glanced at Zhuo Xiaocheng and shook his head. Then he looked at the young man and said, Let's find a place to hide first. We'll contact Zhuo Tiansheng in 2 days. Okay. The young man nodded and took off Zhuo Xiaocheng's interspatial ring. He found Zhuo Xiaocheng's voice transmission stone and crushed it. This was to prevent Zhuo Xiaocheng from sending a message to Zhuo Tiansheng when they were not paying attention. The city lord's mansion. Without any news, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf stayed in the city lord's mansion for the time being. The Tianyue Tower lord wanted to leave, but Zhuo Tiansheng did not allow it. He said that she could only leave after saving Zhuo Xiaocheng. Otherwise, she would be buried with Zhuo Xiaocheng. Therefore, she could only stay in the city lord's mansion for the time being. In a backyard, it was remote and quiet. This was where they lived. A few days later in the morning, Qin Feiyang got up early. After washing up, he walked out of the yard and breathed in the fresh air. Suddenly, he noticed that in the yard next door, the Tianyue Tower lord was sitting at the stone table, looking into the distance with a worried face. What are you thinking about? Qin Feiyang walked over curiously. The Tianyue Tower lord came to her senses and quickly turned to look at Qin Feiyang. She smiled. Nothing. You obviously have something on your mind. Are you worried about Zhuo Xiaocheng? Qin Feiyang smiled. Zhuo Xiaocheng had an accident in the Tianyue Tower. I do have an unshirkable responsibility. The Tianyue Tower lord sighed. Qin Feiyang said, Then have you found a very serious problem in this matter? What is it? The Tianyue Tower's tower master was suspicious. In this world, no matter if it's a major force or a famous family, if they want to establish themselves in a place, they must have a powerful expert. As for your Tianyue Tower, although it has developed very quickly these years, its foundation is not stable at all. Because your Tianyue Tower doesn't have a single expert who can intimidate the world. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. His words woke her up from her dream. The tower master of Tianyue Tower stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang. That's right. If Tianyue Tower had an expert keeping watch, then no one would dare to mess around in Tianyue Tower. Then, what happened to Zhuo Xiaocheng would not have happened. The house master of Tianyue Tower pondered for a while before she mustered her courage and said, Qin Dage, are you willing to be the backer of Tianyue Tower? Me. Qin Feiyang was taken aback. I know this request is too abrupt and I can't give you anything in return, but I have no choice. I don't know any experts. The only ones I can think of are you, Big Brother Amo, and Big Brother Yin. The house master of Tianyue Tower lowered her head and seemed a little afraid, not daring to look straight into Qin Feiyang's eyes. Then you can look for Yin Ziyang. He's more enthusiastic than I am. Qin Feiyang smiled. Big Brother Yin is indeed a warm-hearted person, but he's still a little lacking when it comes to intimidating the world. But you're different from Big Brother Amo. You have sovereign divine weapons. You can definitely protect our Tianyue Tower. The house master of Tianyue Tower said, I'm afraid we don't have the energy. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. You don't have to worry about that. Meow meow, and I will take care of everything in Tianyue Tower. You just have to stand behind us and support us. The house master of Tianyue Tower hurriedly said. Meow meow? Qin Feiyang was stunned. It's Yi Miao from Purple Smoke Tower. I was the one who invited her to join Tianyue Tower. The house master of Tianyue Tower said. I see. Qin Feiyang smiled and shook his head. It's not that I don't want to help you. It's because we can help you. Why? The house master of Tianyue Tower was suspicious. We have our own difficulties. Let's put it this way. If we really stand with Tianyue Tower, then I can tell you that what will bring you will definitely not be help, but disaster. Qin Feiyang said. Is it because of the Blood Hall? The house master of Tianyue Tower asked. How do you know about the Blood Hall? Qin Feiyang was stunned. At that time, only the two sovereign divine weapons, the Dragon God Sword and no one from the Blood Hall appeared. Logically speaking, this woman shouldn't have thought of the Blood Hall. When the two sovereign divine weapons came to Wine Sea City to kill you, the big shots of the Blood Hall also arrived at the demonic palace. So now everyone is guessing that the Blood Hall should be behind this. The house master of Tianyue Tower said. I see. In that case, I won't hide it from you. It's indeed because of the Blood Hall. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then can I ask, what kind of deep hatred do you have with the Blood Hall that made them go to such lengths? The house master of Tianyue Tower was suspicious. To be honest, I don't know what the Blood Hall is trying to do. In fact, I didn't even know the Blood Hall before, let alone hate them. However, I am familiar with the two sovereign divine weapons that appeared in Windsea City, and we are old rivals. Qin Feiyang said. Old rivals. The house master of Tianyue Tower was in disbelief. Old rivals with sovereign divine weapons? Who exactly are these people? So we really can't help you. Just like back in Wind City, we didn't want to be with you and Yun Xiang. On one hand, we couldn't trust you. On the other hand, we didn't want to implicate you. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. I understand. The house master of Tianyue Tower nodded. Even so, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Don't think too much about it now, because no matter what, it starts from step by step. It's definitely not that easy at the beginning. Qin Feiyang comforted. Thank you, Qin Dage. The house master of Tianyue Tower smiled and asked, Then can I ask why you are in the city, Lord Mansion? Doesn't the Vice Alliance leader want to reconcile with us? So we came to talk to Zhuo Tiansheng and the others, but we didn't expect to encounter this. Qin Feiyang shook his head. What about Zhuo Xiaoxian? The house master of Tianyue Tower asked. She's in my spatial divine item. We came to the city, Lord Mansion, to reconcile because of her. To tell you the truth, actually I don't want to reconcile at all, but there's no other way. Zhuo Xiaoxian and Senior Brother Feng, Zi love each other. If we don't reconcile with the Vice Alliance leader, they can't be together openly. Qin Feiyang sighed. As for the real relationship between Zhuo Tianqing and them, he didn't mention it at all, because he still couldn't trust this woman. If the truth of this matter reached the Vice Alliance leader's ears, Zhuo Tianqing and the city lord would be the ones to suffer. That's true. The house master of Tianyue Tower nodded. By the way, how should I address you? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Yue Qing. Qin Dage, just call me Xiao Qing. The house master of Tianyue Tower smiled. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile. At this moment, Elder Yu suddenly descended from the sky and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. He said, telepathically, Brother Qin, the two lords have invited you over. Any news? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes, Elder Yu nodded. What about her? Qin Feiyang glanced at Yue Qing. She doesn't need to go. With her present, it's inconvenient for us to talk. Elder Yu said to himself. Okay. Qin Feiyang responded, looked at the courtyard and shouted, White-eyed wolf, senior brother, let's go. In the conference hall, when Qin Feiyang and the others entered the hall, Zhuo Tiansheng immediately closed the door and set up a soundproof barrier. Greetings, City Lord. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. We're all family, no need to be so polite. The city lord waved his hand. Take a look at this. Zhuo Tiansheng walked in front of the two people and the wolf and took out a letter from his chest. Qin Feiyong took the letter and opened it. There were few lines of small words. The content was roughly, within 3 days, prepare 5 peak-level heaven-defying divine artifacts, 2,000 rank 5 divine rank soul lines and crystal veins, and go to Black Crow Mountain to exchange for Zhuo Xiaocheng. 5 peak-level heaven-defying divine artifacts, 2,000 divine rank soul lines and crystal veins? He really dares to ask for it. Madman raised his eyebrows. This is a problem. 1 or 2 peak-level heaven-defying divine artifacts. We can still think of a way, but 5 at once. Where are we going to find them? The city lord rubbed his forehead, feeling a little troubled. Qin Feiyong's eyes flickered, and he asked, "Who sent this letter? And where is this Black Crow Mountain?" According to the city guards, this letter was sent by a child. We have investigated this child. He is just a child from an ordinary family in Windsea City. And according to the child, it was a middle-aged man who gave him some soul stones and asked him to pass it to the city guards. As for Black Crow Mountain, it is not in Windsea City, but in the north of Cloud Sea City. It is about half a day's journey from our Windsea City. Of course, this journey refers to the opening of the teleportation altar. Zhuo Tianqing said. So far, Qin Feiyong was stunned. Even the opening of the teleportation altar took half a day. He then asked, "Then could they be from Cloud Sea City?" "We also thought so, but before we figured out, we can't be sure." Zhuo Tianqing shook his head. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and said, "Then let's do as they say and give them these things." "How?" "He only gave us 3 days. Besides, he dares to blackmail us. Not to mention 5 peak-level heaven-defying divine artifacts. Even if it is a low-level heaven-defying divine artifact, I will not give it to him." Zhuo Tiansheng snorted coldly. "But now we have no other choice, right? Unless you don't care about Zhuo Xiaocheng's life." Qin Feiyong smiled slightly. "Then, do you have any way to get so many peak-level heaven-defying divine artifacts in short time?" the city lord asked. "That's simple." With a thought in Qin Feiyong's mind, the golden scale sword, sunset, divine bow, sky-breaking halberd, earth shield, and axe appeared. This, the city lord and the others were dumbfounded. It was really 5 peak-level, heaven-defying divine artifacts. How many treasures were these little fellows hiding? Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "You should have spirit veins and crystal veins, right? If you don't, I can give them to you." We have them all." The 3 of them came back to their senses and hurriedly nodded. Even they couldn't take out 5 peak-level heaven-defying divine artifacts. But this kid didn't even bat an eyelid. It was unimaginable. "All right then, get ready. We will set off for Black Crow Mountain now." Qin Feiyong smiled. But Zhuo Tiansheng looked at the sunset, divine bow, and the other divine artifacts with reluctance in his eyes. "Don't worry. They are all my companions. Not to mention this person. Even if the Demon Hall and your rogue cultivator alliance tempted them, they would not leave me." Qin Feiyong smiled confidently. Chapter 3098. So confident. The 3 of them were stunned. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and did not explain. The city lord looked at Zhuo Tianqing and said, "In that case, quickly go and prepare the crystal vein and soul vein." "Okay." Zhuo Tianqing nodded and immediately turned to leave. In less than 100 breaths, he returned to the main hall. "Let's go." The city lord got up. "You're going too?" Qin Feiyong looked at him suspiciously. "Openly abducting my city, Lord Mansion's people, is a blatant provocation to the dignity of my city, Lord Mansion. As the city lord, of course I have to go and see who this arrogant person is." The city lord snorted and opened a teleportation altar. The teleportation altar is too slow. Do you have the coordinates of Black Crow Mountain? Let's teleport there directly. Qin Feiyang took out the space-time gate. What is this? The three of them looked at the space-time gate in confusion. A divine artifact for space-time teleportation. Qin Feiyang smiled. You even have such a divine artifact? The city lord was stunned. This kid really made people afraid to get along with him, because the longer they got along, the scarier he felt. After Zhuo Tianqing gave him the coordinates, Qin Feiyang opened the space-time gate in the main hall. Immediately, a group of people entered in a line. Black Crow Mountain. The mountain was like its name, like a giant crow, standing among the vast mountains. At the highest peak, a middle-aged man was sitting cross-legged. This person was in his 40s, dressed in black, and had a strong body. Clang! Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the sky ahead. The middle-aged man in black immediately opened his eyes and looked up in surprise. He saw a stone door emerging from the void and slowly opening. This is a divine artifact for space-time teleportation. The middle-aged man in black was shocked and stared at the space-time gate. Who could it be? Soon, the space-time gate opened and 5 people and a dog walked out. So fast? The middle-aged man in black looked at Qin Feiyang and the others in shock. He thought that he would have to wait for a few days, but he did not expect it to come so quickly. Qin Feiyang kept the space-time gate, and then the group looked around. Very soon, they saw the black-robed, middle-aged man on the mountain peak ahead. Zhuo Tianqing took a step forward and landed on the mountain peak. He gloomily said, "It's you." The middle-aged man in black hurriedly took a few steps back and nodded. "Yes, it's me. The mayor, Elder Yu, Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the white-eyed wolf also landed beside Zhuo Tianqing." The city lord sized up the black-clothed middle-aged man and sneered. "A mere half-step sovereign actually dares to provoke our city, Lord Mansion." There was a trace of fear in the eyes of the middle-aged man in black. He did not expect the city lord to come personally. But when he thought that Zhuo Xiaoqing was in their hands, he regained some confidence. He looked at Qin Feiyang's group and asked, "Have you brought the things we want?" Zhuo Tianqing waved his hand, and 2,000 spirit veins and crystal veins appeared. Qin Feiyang also waved his hand. The sunset divine bow, the shield of thick earth, the 7-star staff, the sky-breaking halberd, and the white jade sword appeared. He was going to take out the golden scale sword, but Qin Feiyang suddenly remembered that the golden scale sword had appeared before. Once he took out the golden scale sword, the other party would immediately see through his identity. Zhuo Tianqing said in a low voice, "Everything you want is here. Where's my son? Give it to me first. After I leave, I'll immediately release your son." The black-clothed, middle-aged man said, "My son isn't here? Are you fucking playing with me?" Zhuo Tianqing was instantly filled with hostility, and a terrifying divine might surged toward the black-clothed, middle-aged man. "I'm not playing with you. I'm doing this for our safety. Because you're too strong. If I brought your son here and you wanted to rob him, we wouldn't have the ability to stop you. So, we can only put your son somewhere else. Once we get what we want, I promise to release him immediately." The black-clothed, middle-aged man had a panicked expression. What a joke! Zhuo Tianqing and Elder, you were both late-stage sovereigns. The city lord was even a perfected sovereign. How could he not be nervous? Elder Yu frowned and said, "So even if we give it to you now, we won't be able to see Zhuo Xiaoqing." The black-clothed, middle-aged man shook his head and said, "Before you give it to me, I won't let you see him." "Then how can we trust you? Will you really release Zhuo Xiaoqing? What if we give it to you and ask you to leave, but you don't let him go?" Elder Yu asked. "I'm a man of my word." The black-clothed, middle-aged man said, "Don't say such nonsense. You can't trust us, and we can't trust you either." Elder Yu shook his head. For a moment, the two sides were in a deadlock. Old Qin, since Zhuo Xiaocheng isn't here, I have an idea. Madman suddenly transmitted his voice. What idea? Qin Feiyong was startled and secretly asked. Control him and read his memories. Madman secretly said. Qin Feiyong's heart stirred, and he discreetly raised his head to look at the void. If this person's accomplice really wasn't here, then Madman's suggestion was feasible. But he was afraid that this person's accomplice was hiding nearby. When he saw them make a move, he would definitely be driven to desperation and kill Zhuo Xiaocheng. Moreover, he was also somewhat hesitant. After all, this person was a half-step dominator. If he fought with his life on the line and suddenly resisted when he used the puppet technique to control him, then he would be in danger. Just like last time, when he used the slave seal to control Zhuo Tiansheng. Zhuo Tiansheng suddenly resisted and caused him a backlash. Now that he thought about it, he was still afraid. How about this? I'll let you see him first. The black-clothed, middle-aged man finally spoke, breaking the silence. How? Zhuo Tiansheng frowned. The black-clothed, middle-aged man said, Through the sound transmission, Godstone. This, Zhuo Tiansheng was somewhat hesitant. At this time, Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed, and suddenly thought of a better idea. He shook his head and said no. And not only the black-clothed middle-aged man, Zhuo Tiansheng and Madman also looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. The sound transmission Godstone can also be faked, because we don't know if the Zhuo Xiaocheng we saw was impersonated by someone else. Qin Feiyong said, Is it necessary for us to find someone to impersonate him? The black-clothed, middle-aged man said angrily, We can't rule out this possibility, right? Because we don't know if Zhuo Xiaocheng is still alive. Qin Feiyong said lightly. The black-clothed, middle-aged man shouted, Then you can confirm it through the sound transmission, Godstone. But just as he finished speaking, he remembered that Zhuo Xiaocheng's sound transmission Godstone had been crushed. Since the sound transmission Godstone was crushed, it seemed that there was no way to confirm it. I have a proposal that will benefit both of us, Qin Feiyong said. What proposal? The black-clothed, middle-aged man was suspicious. Take me to see Zhuo Xiaocheng. I'm only at the small success, imperishable realm. It's easy for you to kill me, so you don't have to worry at all. After I see Zhuo Xiaocheng, what will I do to you? Qin Feiyong said lightly. Zhuo Tiansheng, Elder Yu, and the city lord looked at each other. This proposal was good, and this was obviously a trap set by Qin Feiyong. Yes, his cultivation was indeed only at the small success imperishable realm, but his true strength was far more than that. If this person really took Qin Feiyong to see Zhuo Xiaocheng, it was tantamount to bringing a wolf. At that time, it would be easy to save Zhuo Xiaocheng. This, however, the black-clothed middle-aged man was not stupid and was very hesitant. Although Qin Feiyong was only at the small success imperishable realm, it did not rule out other means. For example, there was a hidden space divine object, and there were some people who were stronger than him hidden in the space divine object. After all, the previous 5-peak level heaven defying artifacts were taken out by this person. This is the only way now. Otherwise, we can't trust each other, and the deal can't be completed at all. Qin Feiyong said. The black-clothed middle-aged man was silent, and his eyes suddenly glanced at the madman and the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf transformed into a big gray dog. The madman was the same as Qin Feiyong, a middle-aged man. They both looked very ordinary. Finally, the black-clothed middle-aged man pointed the white-eyed wolf and said in a deep voice, Let it confirm. It. Qin Feiyong frowned. Yes, it's it. You go. I'm not at ease. The black-clothed youth nodded. The white-eyed wolf looked dazed and said, Does he think I'm easy to bully? That's what I mean. Qin Feiyang and the madman laughed secretly. Damn, you're looking for death. The white-eyed wolf suddenly burned with anger. Can you really do it? Maybe his accomplice is stronger than him. The madman said. You're doubting my ability. The white-eyed wolf fiercely stared at the madman, looked at the black-clothed middle-aged man and nodded. Okay, I'll go take a look. Good. The black-clothed middle-aged man opened an altar and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. Then wait for me here. Qin Feiyang nodded. Let's go. The black-clothed middle-aged man looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, After you go, don't hurt me. The white-eyed wolf looked at him with a timid look. I don't need to compete with a beast. The black-clothed middle-aged man snorted and stepped onto the altar. Beast, the white-eyed wolf muttered, a cold light flashing in the depths of his eyes, and then stepped onto the altar. Just these words alone had announced the death of the black-clothed middle-aged man. After watching the man and wolf leave, Zhuo Tianqing immediately looked at Qin Feiyang and was about to speak. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, First use your divine sense to see if there are any spatial divine items hidden nearby. Zhuo Tianqing was taken aback. He quickly nodded and released his divine sense in all directions. A moment later, Zhuo Tianqing shook his head and said, Except for some fierce beasts, I didn't find any suspicious people. That's good. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, then asked. Zhuo Tianqing frowned and said, I just want to ask, can it really do it? Because he hadn't seen the white-eyed wolf in action. He didn't know the white-eyed wolf's strength. This, Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and shook their heads with a wry smile. To be honest, we don't know either. You don't know? Isn't it your companion? Zhuo Tianqing and the others were stunned. This answer was simply too unexpected. Yes, we are companions. But this guy likes to act mysterious in front of us, so we don't know how strong it is now. Qin Feiyang looked helpless. Zhuo Tianqing and the others looked at each other. If they didn't even know each other's strength, could they still be considered companions? You don't have to doubt my relationship with the white-eyed wolf, because we already knew each other when I was 15 years old. Until today, we have never been separated after countless trials and hardships. It can be said that we are like blood brothers. As for its ability, you don't have to doubt it either. Since it dares to go alone, it must be very confident. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Madman also looked at the three and said, You don't know this wolf cub. If it's serious, even old Qin and I will be beaten up. It's that powerful. The three were shocked. Who knows? Madman shrugged. He also wanted to know the white-eyed wolf's current strength, but there was no chance. Chapter 30:99. Buzz. Suddenly, the voice transmission stone rang. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback as he took out the divine sound transmission stone. The white-eyed wolf. Madman asked, It can't be. It's only been a while. Qin Feiyang shook his head, but when he checked the voice transmission stone, his expression suddenly froze. What's wrong? Madman looked at him suspiciously. It's really him. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. So fast? It's not that far from here. Zhuo Tianqing whispered. Qin Feiyang activated the voice transmission stone. The white-eyed wolf shadow immediately appeared, glancing at them and said, Come here. After saying that, it gave Qin Feiyang and the others a few coordinates, and then disappeared. Go there? The 5 of them were stunned. What's going on? After the white-eyed wolf confirmed it, shouldn't the middle-aged man in black come to trade with them? Why did the white-eyed wolf ask them to go there instead? Wait, could it be that this wolf cub has already killed them? Madman suddenly said, Killed them? Qin Feiyang and Zhuo Tianqing were stunned and then shook their heads. It's absolutely impossible. It's only been a while. Even if it has the ability, it can't be so fast. Then, is there any other explanation? Madman said, "Let's go and take a look." Qin Feiyang put away the divine artifact. Zhuo Tiansheng also put away the spirit vein and crystal vein, opened the altar, and the few of them quickly rushed up. About 10 breaths later, they landed in the air above a mountain range. When they looked down at the mountain range below, the 5 of them froze. Below them, the mountains within millions of miles were razed to the ground. In the void, there were still very strong battle fluctuations left. At this moment, the white-eyed wolf was standing on a broken boulder, looking at the 2 people below with eyes full of contempt. Next to the white-eyed wolf, there was a young man lying in a coma. It was Zhuo Xiaocheng. The 5 of them looked at each other and landed next to the white-eyed wolf. "How's the small success?" Zhuo Tiansheng asked. The white-eyed wolf waved his paws and said calmly he's fine. He just fainted. Zhuo Tiansheng heaved a sigh of relief and looked at the 2 people below. One of them was the middle-aged man in black, and the other was a young man. "What's going on?" Madman looked at the 2 in shock. Both of their bodies were riddled with wounds, especially their lower abdomens, where there was a fist-sized bloody hole that penetrated from the front to the back, and blood was gushing out. Seriously injured just like that? Zhuo Tiansheng and the other 2 found it hard to believe. It was just as the madman had predicted. He had already dealt with the 2 of them, but this wolf cub was clearly only at the small success imperishable level. How did it do it? "Look at their eyes," Elder Yu transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at the 2 of them and discovered that the 2 of them were staring at the ingrates. No matter if it was their pale faces or their weak eyes, they were all filled with fear. They didn't even seem to notice the arrival of Qin Feiyang and the others. Their eyes were as if they had seen a devil. What on earth happened to make them so fearful? Qin Feiyang and the others were shocked. One had to know. The middle-aged man in black was quite strong, half-step dominator, and the white-eyed wolf was only at the small success imperishable level, yet he was able to scare him like this. What did the white-eyed wolf do to them? Cough, cough. Madman coughed dryly and said with a flattering smile, "Brother Wolf, you're amazing." "Of course. 2 little caterpillars dare to look down on me. Aren't you courting death?" The white-eyed wolf had a look of disdain. Little caterpillars? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other, the corners of their mouths twitching. A half-step dominator was just a little caterpillar in this guy's eyes? Even they didn't dare to be so arrogant. "Brother Wolf, then tell us, how did you deal with them?" Madman asked as if he was trying to curry favor. "I won't tell you." The white-eyed wolf glanced at Madman indifferently. "This old man has a bad temper. Come, let's fight." Madman immediately rolled up his sleeves, looking like he was ready to fight. "Not interested." The white-eyed wolf pouted. Madman's face was dark, his eyes suddenly turned, and he said, "Old Qin, quickly read the youth's memories." "Good idea." Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. As long as he read this person's memories, wouldn't he know what the white-eyed wolf was doing? And this youth's cultivation was much weaker than the middle-aged man in black, only at the peak imperishable realm. Right now, Qin Feiyang was at the small success imperishable realm. When he used the rising dragon technique, he could also raise his cultivation to the peak imperishable realm. Coupled with the fact that the young man was currently in a daze, it would be easy to control him. "No need to control him, I've already asked." The white-eyed wolf waved his claws. "What did you ask?" Qin Feiyang and Madman were suspicious. "I asked about their identities." The white-eyed wolf took out 2 facial restoration pills and stuffed them into their mouths. Immediately, the 2 of them recovered their true appearances, a young man in his 20s and an old man with white hair. "It's him?" Madman looked at the youth in astonishment. Zhuo Tianqing asked, "You know him?" He is Su Hua." Madman nodded. "Lord, he is indeed Su Hua. As for this old man, he is the old patriarch of the Su family. Su Hua's grandfather. Elder Yu said. Su Hua, the old patriarch of the Su family. Zhuo Tianqing didn't react. Su Hua is Su Yuan's son. Elder Yu explained. So it's you. Zhuo Tianqing's eyes suddenly flashed with killing intent. As soon as he heard the name Su Yuan, he remembered. That's right. This Su Hua was the one who attacked Madman in the ruins of the Su family. However, even at this time, Su Hua and the old patriarch of the Su family still stared at the white-eyed wolf in horror. They were really scared silly. This made Qin Feiyang and Madman even more curious. Qin Feiyang activated the Rising Dragon secret art, and his cultivation soared to the perfection immortal realm. Following closely, a puppet imprint appeared and rushed towards the top of Su Hua's head. But suddenly, the white-eyed wolf slapped with his claws, and Su Hua immediately screamed. His entire head instantly burst open, and his divine soul was annihilated on the spot. Bastard, what are you doing? Qin Feiyang glared at the white-eyed wolf. Nothing. I just want to kill him. Why? Are you so interested in his memories? That's fine. You can read the memories of the old patriarch of the Su family. I won't stop you. The white-eyed wolf retreated to the side and laughed. Qin Feiyang's face was dark and his veins were bulging. The old patriarch of the Su family was a half-step dominator. Did he dare to control him? If he dared, he would have listened to Madman's suggestion at the place where they met and controlled him. Wolf cub, what secrets do you have that you have to hide from us? Madman looked suspiciously at the white-eyed wolf. Just killing 2 little caterpillars and exposing my methods. That's too boring. My style has always been to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. Shameless. Madman rolled his eyes. Su Hua's dying scream finally woke up the old patriarch of the Su family. Looking at Su Hua lying on the ground with his head smashed, and then seeing that Qin Feiyang and the others had also arrived, his wrinkled face was suddenly covered in dust. Old bastard, you really have big dog guts. You even dared to attack my son. Zhuo Tianqing stepped in front of the old patriarch of the Su family, his entire body overflowing with hostility. Sorry, I was instigated by Su Hua, this unfilial son. Lord Zhuo, can you give me a chance? I will kneel down and give you compensation, as long as you say it, no matter what it is. I will find a way to give it to you. I beg you, please let me go. The old patriarch of the Su family immediately knelt on the ground, kowtowing while begging for mercy. You are his grandfather, and you were instigated by him? Do you think this lord is a fool? Zhuo Tianqing smiled coldly. I don't dare, Lord Zhuo. As long as you let me go, I will agree to anything. The old patriarch of the Su family was terrified. Good. I want your dog life, as well as the lives of everyone in your Su family. Zhuo Tianqing shouted. Don't kill me, let the Su family go. The old patriarch of the Su family's eyes trembled as he roared. It's useless to plead for mercy. Zhuo Tianqing smiled sinisterly, grabbed the old patriarch of the Su family, opened an altar, turned to look at Elder Yu and said, You take Qing back first. I will go to Tianyuan City. Elder Yu nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled. Uncle, since you are determined to destroy the Su family, why don't you do me a favor? Speak. Zhuo Tianqing said. Qin Feiyang said, Leave the Su family's spirit vein and crystal vein to me. Whether it was the Su family or the Su family, they were all potential threats, so he didn't object to Zhuo Tianqing going to destroy the Su family. Okay, go back and wait for me, it's all yours. Zhuo Tianqing nodded, then stepped onto the altar and quickly disappeared. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and smiled. The Su family was much stronger than the Su family, so they definitely had more spirit veins and crystal veins. Let's go. The city lord smiled. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded, summoned Snowflake, and said, take us to the city, Lord's mansion." With that, he gave Snowflake a coordinate. Snowflake had now evolved into a pinnacle-level heaven-defying divine artifact, and it was rumored that it opened a space-time portal. "Kid, how many heaven-defying divine artifacts do you have?" The city lord looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. So far, there were 7 pinnacle-level heaven-defying divine artifacts. No, in addition to the magic sword that everyone knew, there were 8 of them. This number, even he could only look at the dust. Not much, not much. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. The city lord rolled his eyes. 8 was not much, other than these known heaven-defying divine artifacts. This kid definitely had more on him. However, he did not continue to ask and turned to enter the space-time tunnel. Returning to the city lord's mansion, Elder Yu took Shuo Xiaoqing to recuperate. The city lord looked at Qin Feiyang and the other 2 and smiled. "This time I really have to thank you guys." He originally thought that it would be a very complicated matter, and it was indeed a bit complicated, but he didn't expect the white-eyed wolf to solve it so easily. After all, he is senior brother's brother-in-law. We definitely can't just stand by and watch. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "That's true." The city lord laughed, then pondered for a moment and asked, "I just heard you say that you want the Su family's spirit vein and crystal vein. Do you really need these resources?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "All right then, in addition to the Su family's spirit vein and crystal vein, the 2,000 spirit vein and crystal vein that we just brought will also be given to you." The city lord laughed. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, and then hurriedly cupped his hands and smiled. "Thank you, senior." "Sai, I am Xiaoxian's foster father, if you don't mind. You can also call me uncle like Zhuo Tianxing." The city lord smiled. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and smiled, nodding. "Okay, uncle." The city lord waved his hand and set up a barrier, smiling. "Let Xiaoxian, that girl, come out. I haven't seen her for so many years. I really miss her." Chapter 30-100. Qin Feiyang turned around and looked at Frenzy. "Why are you looking at me? If a father wants to see his daughter, how can I stop him?" Frenzy rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang burst into laughter. With a thought, Zhuo Xiaoxian appeared. She was still a little confused when she first appeared. As she was also cultivating, she was pulled out by Qin Feiyang without any preparation. She was a little stunned. "Xiaoxian," the city lord spoke. "Godfather?" Zhuo Xiaoxian was startled and quickly looked in the direction of the voice. When she saw the city lord, her eyes were filled with joy, and she quickly jumped into the city lord's arms. Cough, cough. Men and women shouldn't touch each other. Frenzy coughed and glared at Zhuo Xiaoxian. Zhuo Xiaoxian was slightly startled and said unhappily, "You're even jealous of this. What's the point?" Frenzy could not help but be annoyed and said angrily, "Who said I'm jealous? You can hug whoever you want. It's none of my business." "Ha ha!" Seeing the two bickering, the city lord could not help but laugh happily. Then he looked at Zhuo Xiaoxian and said unhappily, "You damn girl, you didn't even think to look at the clothes after so many years. I really doted on you in the past for nothing. I'm just afraid of causing trouble for you." Zhuo Xiaoxian said, "You're so sensible." The city lord rubbed Zhuo Xiaoxian's head and said to Frenzy, "Kid, I've been hugging Xiaoxian since she was born. Do you have a problem with that?" "Do I dare to have a problem with that?" Frenzy looked displeased. "Ha ha!" The city lord could not help but laugh again. Of course he would not be angry, because the more Frenzy was like this, the more it proved that he cared about his precious daughter. Although he was only a godfather, he had treated Zhuo Xiaoxian as his biological daughter since she was young. Now that he saw a man who cared so much about his daughter, of course he was happy. At this moment, Elder Yu walked in. "Grandpa Yu, long time no see. Did you miss me?" Zhuo Xiaoxian ran up and giggled. "Yes." Elder Yu rubbed Zhuo Xiaoxian's head lovingly. How's Xiao? The city lord asked. His injuries have stabilized. He'll be fine after a few days. Old man, you smiled. That's good. The city lord nodded. Who is Xiaocheng? Zhuo Xiaoxian was confused. Elder, you smiled. Little Qing is your younger brother. Little brother? When did I have a younger brother? Zhuo Xiaoxian was surprised. Elder, you replied. Your father and mother gave birth to her a few years ago. They didn't tell me about such a big thing. Do they still treat me as their daughter? We'll talk about it later. I already have so many older brothers. Why would I want a younger brother? Zhuo Xiaoxian's face was filled with displeasure. The city lord and elder, you looked at each other, then turned to Qin Feiyang and Madman. They transmitted their voices. She still doesn't know? Yes. She doesn't know anything. Madman thought. It's good that you don't know, lest you feel sad. The city lord nodded. But she'll find out sooner or later. Madman frowned. That's true. All right then. When old Zhuo returns, I'll get him to find a chance to tell Xiao Xian. The city lord transmitted his voice. Zhuo Tiancheng definitely wouldn't be able to return anytime soon. This was because Zhuo Tiancheng didn't have anything like a space-time teleportation artifact, so he could only return by opening the altar. One had to know. It would take half a day to travel from Wind Sea City to Black Crow Mountain, and Zhuo Tiancheng had to go to Tianyuan City first. After destroying the Su family, he would rush back from Tianyuan City. This would probably take at least half a day. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while, then looked at the city lord and said, Uncle, there's something I want to discuss with you. Why are you so polite? Just say it. The city lord smiled. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, It has nothing to do with me. It's about Yueqing. Yueqing? The city lord was stunned. It's the tower master of Tianyua building. Qin Feiyang said. So it's her. What's wrong with her? The city lord was suspicious. Nothing. I just want to ask you guys to take care of Tianyua building in the future. Qin Feiyang said. What's your relationship with her? The city lord was curious. Nothing. It's just that it's not easy for her to be a woman. Qin Feiyang shook his head. I see. Okay. This is just a small matter. The city lord smiled. Thank you very much then. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. The city lord waved his hand. Next, Qin Feiyang followed Elder Yu to the backyard. Frenzy and Zhuo Xiaoxian stayed in the main hall to chat with the city lord. In the backyard, Yueqing was still sitting alone in the courtyard, staring at the sky in a daze. Xiaoqing, Qin Feiyang spoke. Qin Dage. Yueqing hurriedly got up. When she saw Elder Yu, she quickly bowed and said, Greetings, Elder Yu. No need to be so polite. Elder Yu waved his hand and smiled. Yueqing was slightly stunned. Obviously, she found that Elder Yu's attitude towards her was a little different. Zhuo Xiaoqing has been rescued. The person who kidnapped Zhuo Xiaoqing is an acquaintance of ours. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. An acquaintance? Yueqing was stunned. He is Su Yuan's eldest son, Su Hua, and the old patriarch of a Su family, which is Su Hua's grandfather. Qin Feiyang nodded. So it's them. It seems that they kidnapped Zhuo Xiaoqing to take revenge on the deputy city lord. Yueqing muttered. After all, it's the hatred of extermination. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. To be honest, Zhuo Tianqing's methods were indeed ruthless, but the Su family was not worthy of sympathy. Yueqing asked, Then can I leave now? Of course, you can leave at any time. Qin Feiyang nodded and then said, But before you leave, you and Elder, you must establish a contract bridge. And Yueqing was stunned and looked at Qin Feiyang with some confusion. Elder Yu took out the transmission stone and smiled faintly. In the future, if you encounter any trouble in Tianyuelu, You can send me a message. This, Yueching looked at Elder Yu in astonishment. Was he going to help her in Tianyuelu? She originally thought that even if she rescued Zhuo Xiaoqing this time, the city lord's mansion would definitely not let her go easily. However, she did not expect that not only did the city lord's mansion not make things difficult for her, but also wanted Tianyuelu to back her up. In other words, it was a blessing in disguise. This surprise came too suddenly and was a little unexpected. What's wrong? Still putting on airs, don't you want to establish a contract bridge with Elder Yu? Qin Feiyang looked at her in amusement. No. Yueching hurriedly waved her hand and said, I'm a little flattered and can't get used to it. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Yueching took out the transmission stone and looked at Elder Yu. Then I'll have to trouble you in the future. Elder Yu waved his hand, and the two quickly established a contract bridge. Elder Yu put away the transmission stone and looked at the two with a smile. Then you two chat, this old man will go back first. Take care. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. After Elder Yu left, Yueching looked at Qin Feiyang and asked curiously, Qin Dage, it feels like the people in the city lord's mansion are very polite to you? Vice leader wants to reconcile with me. How can they not be polite to me? Qin Feiyang smiled. Then do you really want to reconcile? Yueching asked. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and shook his head. I don't know, let's see how it goes. Then you have to be careful. I heard that this vice leader is not a good person. Yueching warned. I'll be careful. Go back quickly. Miao must be worried to death after being locked up in the city, Lord's mansion, for a few days. Qin Feiyang smiled. Then Yueching looked at the transmission stone in her hand and then looked at Qin Feiyang. Her meaning was self-evident. She wanted to establish a contract bridge with Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled and took out the transmission stone. After proposing a contract bridge, Yueching put away the transmission stone and bowed. Thank you, Qin Dage. She knew in her heart that the city lord's mansion wanted to help her. It must be related to Qin Feiyang. But she also knew that some things could not be said. It was fine as long as she understood it in her heart. Then she did not stay any longer, opened an altar, and left. After watching Yueching leave, Qin Feiyang also put away the transmission stone, glanced at the courtyard, and turned to walk in the direction of the main hall. He was very concerned about Yun Xiang's disappearance, even hiding it from Yueching. Moreover, even the city lord's mansion could not find out his background. He could not understand where this person came from. Half a day passed. Whoosh! A bloody figure appeared in the sky above the city lord's mansion. It was Zhuo Tiansheng. When Qin Feiyang and the others sensed Zhuo Tiansheng's aura, they immediately frowned. Qin Feiyang immediately sent Zhuo Xiaoxian to the Black Tortoise Realm, then followed the city lord and old Manu, flying out and looking at Zhuo Tiansheng. Old Zhuo, what happened to you? The city lord was shocked. Crazy and Qin Feiyang looked at each other and frowned. How could he be so heavily injured? One had to know. Zhuo Tiansheng was a late-stage ruler, and he also had a high-grade divine artifact. And the strongest person in the Su family was the Su family patriarch, a half-step ruler. Not to mention that the Su family patriarch was already crippled. Even if he was not, he could not have hurt Zhuo Tiansheng. Zhuo Tiansheng landed in front of them and sighed. It's a long story. Boom! Before he finished, two more terrifying auras descended. They looked up and saw two middle-aged men in black armor descending in the sky. Their figures were tall and sturdy, and they each held a black spear in their hands. They were serious in speech and manner, and the armor on their chests was engraved with the mark of a skull. What's going on? Why are they here? The city lord and old man, you were shocked. Qin Feiyang and Crazy looked at the city lord and old man you suspiciously. Who were these two black-armored men? Even the city lord and old man you were shocked. Zhuo Tiansheng said in a deep voice, They were the ones who chased me all the way and made me like this. What? The city lord's expression changed. Uncle, who are they? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. You don't even know them? The city lord was stunned. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Do you see the mark on their chests? That's the mark of the Demon Palace's Law Enforcement Hall. They're law enforcers of the Demon Palace. In the Eastern continent, they have absolute power over life and death. The city lord's expression was gloomy. Law enforcers of the Demon Palace? Qin Feiyong and Crazy looked at each other and sized up the two black-armored men. From their auras, they could tell that they were the same as Zhuo Tiansheng, late-stage rulers. Moreover, the spears in their hands were high-grade, heaven-defying divine artifacts. The city lord took a deep breath and looked at the two of them. Is there a misunderstanding between the two of you? Misunderstanding? We saw them slaughter the Su family with our own eyes. Is this a misunderstanding? One of the black-armored men spoke with a bone-chilling tone. Chapter 30-101. The city lord was slightly taken aback. He turned to look at Zhuo Tianqing and frowned. Old Zhuo, didn't you explain to them? Yes, but they didn't believe Su Jingshan. Zhuo Tianqing was a little angry. Su Jingshan? Qin Feiyong and Madman looked at each other and frowned. This person didn't die. That's right. He wasn't at home at that time, so he was lucky enough to escape. Zhuo Tianqing snorted coldly. Where is Su Jingshan? Qin Feiyong looked up at the two law enforcers. One of them waved his hand, and Su Jingshan immediately appeared out of thin air. It's really you. Madman smiled coldly. Back then in the ruins of the Su family, it was this person who saved Su Hua from his hands. Who are you? Su Jingshan looked at Madman suspiciously. Don't care who I am. You actually dare to bite us in front of the law enforcers of the Demon Palace. You have guts. Madman said. This is the truth. My Su family has never provoked Zhuo Tianqing. Kidnapping Zhuo Xiaocheng is even more nonsense. Su Jingshan's face was full of resentment. Zhuo Tianqing said angrily, Bastard, don't you feel guilty saying these words? The one who should feel pain is you. Not only did you cruelly slaughter the Su family of Tianfeng City, but you also killed our Su family. You even stole all of our Su family's spirit vein and crystal vein. I really don't know how we offended your rogue cultivator alliance that you have to treat us so cruelly. Su Jingshan roared. When Zhuo Tianqing heard this, he was so angry that his body trembled. He had never seen such a shameless person. Look, isn't that the law enforcers of the Demon Palace? Why did they appear in Wind Sea City? And the Vice City Lord, why is he injured all over? The people of the city, Lord's mansion below, also noticed the situation above, and their faces were full of surprise. The city Lord glanced at Su Jingshan, looked at the two law enforcers, and cupped his hands. Both of you, this matter was indeed started by Su Hua and the Su family. That's just your side of the story. The two were expressionless. But it's true. They kidnapped old Zhuo's son first. Then they used old Zhuo's son as a bargaining chip to threaten us. They wanted 5 pinnacle-grade heaven-defying divine artifacts, 2,000 spirit veins and crystal veins. Tell me, if it were you guys, would you be able to endure it? The city lord frowned. Who can prove it? The two of them spoke. We can prove it, Qin Feiyong said. Madman and White-Eyed Wolf nodded in agreement. You. The two of them sized up Qin Feiyong's group, as well as the White-Eyed Wolf, and said coldly, You are obviously from the city, Lord's mansion. Can your words be used as evidence? But that's the truth. Zhuo Xiaocheng is still lying at home. This Su Jingshan is clearly using you as cannon fodder, Qin Feiyong said. What you said may not be the truth. Su Jingshan's words may not be lies. This matter still needs to be investigated. One of the enforcers spoke. Then go and investigate. Go and ask Wind Sea City. Who doesn't know that old Jua's son has been kidnapped? The city lord was about to lose his patience. The Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the Demon Palace were originally enemies. The fact that he could explain it again and again was already very polite. Although you're right, who saw with their own eyes that it was Su Hua and the Su family who kidnapped Zhuo Tianqing's son. No matter what, Zhuo Tianqing must follow us to the Demon Palace and cooperate with the investigation. If this matter is really Su Hua and the Su family's fault, we will let him go and kill Su Jingshan. But if not, as a disciple of the Demon Palace, Su Hua is not someone you can kill as you wish. The two enforcers waved the long spears in their hands, and a terrifying sharpness suddenly rolled out. What's going on? The people outside the city, Lord's mansion, were also alarmed by this sharpness. Everyone looked up at the city, Lord's mansion. What a joke! The people of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance entered your Demon Palace, especially the law enforcement hall. How can they survive? The city lord laughed angrily, and a powerful aura spread out. Are you openly provoking us? The two of them raised their eyebrows. The city lord said, Don't be mistaken. You're the ones who were rude and unreasonable first. Is it that difficult to cooperate with our investigation? Do you really think that your Rogue Cultivator Alliance is qualified to challenge my Demon Palace? A monstrous killing intent suddenly surged out from the two of them. Whether we're qualified or not, we'll know once we try. The city lord's killing intent was also undisguised. Elder Yu and Zhuo Tianqing stood beside the city lord and stared at the two of them with a gloomy face. Swords were drawn. The atmosphere was exceptionally solemn. Seeing this scene, Su Jingshan's eyes were filled with a cold smile. Right. That's it, let's fight. Don't. Qin Feiyong stepped forward to smooth things over. He looked at the two enforcers and said with a smile, The two of you, let's talk in private. Get lost. One of the enforcers directly slapped Qin Feiyong, and Qin Feiyong was sent flying on the spot. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Seeing this, the madman and the white-eyed wolf were immediately enraged and shouted, I've given you face, haven't I? The two of them looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf with contempt. A wisp of divine power shot out towards the man and the wolf. You've gone too far. The city lord took a step forward and slapped out with his hand. The two wisps of divine power immediately shattered. You really want to make a move? The two of them raised their brows and looked down at Mo Lu. They shouted, Sun Jingzhong, quickly come over and take down the city, Lord of Wind Sea City. Although they were great masters, they weren't afraid of the city lord at all. This was because the tower lord, Sun Jingzhong, was also from the Demon Palace. Moreover, although Sun Jingzhong's cultivation was stronger than theirs, he had to listen to them. This was because they were the enforcers of the Demon Palace and had supreme authority. Whoosh! Sun Jingzhong flew into the sky and looked at Qin Feiyong and the others. He then looked at the two enforcers and sighed at Zhuo Tianqing. Follow them to the Demon Palace and cooperate with the investigation. The ones at fault are Su Hua and the Su family. Why should I cooperate? Zhuo Tianqing said angrily. Don't bite people. A man should dare to take responsibility for his actions. Su Jingshan also shouted, Damn you, I'm going to kill you. Zhuo Tianqing was furious and slapped towards Su Jingshan. But at this moment, Sun Jingzhong stepped in front of Su Jingshan and grabbed Zhuo Tianqing's wrist. He shook his head and said, Don't make it difficult for this old man. He didn't recognize Qin Feiyong. Madman, white-eyed wolf. If he did, he definitely wouldn't think so. The city lord glanced at Sun Jingzhong and Su Jingshan. He was so angry that he laughed. Your Demon Palace really knows how to bully people. All right, let's go outside the city to avoid affecting the innocent. Obviously, This was the rhythm of a war. "Shut up, all of you!" But at this moment, Qin Feiyang suddenly shouted and landed beside Madman and White-Eyed Wolf. He looked at the two enforcers gloomily. "Are you looking for death?" The two raised their eyebrows. A mere small immortal realm cultivator dared to shout at them? "Seeing that you're enforcers of the Demon Palace, I won't pursue the matter of you injuring me this time. But if there's a next time, even if the Emperor comes down, I'll kill you." Qin Feiyang said word by word. "Haha, how arrogant." The two enforcers laughed, but it was full of ridicule. "How arrogant." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. With a flip of his hand, a token appeared in his palm. Sun Jingzhong and the two enforcers immediately looked at the token. Their laughter stopped abruptly and was slowly replaced by shock. That's right. The token that Qin Feiyang took out was the identity token that Elder Hu gave him. Zhuo Tianxing and the other two were also shocked. They knew that Elder Hu wanted Qin Feiyang and the others to join the Demon Palace, but they didn't expect him to be so generous as to give the identity token to this kid. It could be seen that Elder Hu cared about Qin Feiyang and the others. "What's going on?" Su Jingshan looked at their reactions and also looked at the token. His eyes were full of shock. Whose token is this? How can it make the enforcers of the Demon Palace so shocked? Suddenly, Sun Jingzhong quivered and looked up at Qin Feiyang, Zhuo Tianxing, and the White-Eyed Wolf. He thought to himself, could it be that you guys are... Qin Feiyang nodded. Sun Jingzhong's expression froze. He looked up at the two enforcers and said with a smile, "This must be a misunderstanding." The two enforcers looked at each other, their eyes full of suspicion. Sun Jingzhong could guess the identity of Qin Feiyang and the others, but the two enforcers couldn't. This was because they didn't know the relationship between Qin Feiyang and the others and Elder Hua. Qin Feiyang kept the token under his deliberate concealment. Only the three enforcers of the city, Lord and Sun Jingzhong, saw the token. Qin Feiyang looked at the two enforcers and said calmly, "Can my words be used as evidence?" The two enforcers remained silent. "I saw it with my own eyes. Su Hua wasn't killed by Zhuo Tianxing and the others. We killed him," Qin Feiyang said. The White-Eyed Wolf looked at the two enforcers, pinched his nose, and nodded. "Yes, I killed him personally. What do you want?" The two enforcers looked at Qin Feiyang, Zhuo Tianxing, and the White-Eyed Wolf with flickering eyes. "You'd better not do anything to them. Otherwise, if you anger them, even I can't protect you." Sun Jingzhong transmitted his voice. Hearing this, the two enforcers' pupils shrank. They knew Sun Jingzhong well. He wasn't someone who would joke around. It seemed that this token was indeed Elder Hua's. "We're sorry. We were blind before and offended you." The two enforcers looked at each other, then looked at Qin Feiyang, Zhuo Tianxing, and the White-Eyed Wolf, and bowed. "How should we deal with this matter?" Qin Feiyang asked. The two enforcers immediately turned to look at Su Jingshan. "Lords, I'm telling the truth. I didn't lie to you. The rogue Cultivator Alliance really killed the innocent." Su Jingshan's expression changed as he hurriedly shouted. He never expected that a token would make the enforcers believe him. "Stop quibbling. Do you know their identity? Do you know who that token belongs to?" Sun Jingzhong looked at Su Jingshan and said indifferently, "Identity." Su Jingshan's expression stiffened as he asked, "What is their identity?" "They are people you can never afford to offend." Sun Jingzhong snorted coldly. "Spare me." Su Jingshan immediately knelt in the void. Since Sun Jingzhong said so, the two enforcers and the dog must have a great relationship with the Demon Palace. "So you're really lying to us?" The two enforcers stared at Su Jingshan gloomily. Su Jingshan's face was incomparably flustered. "It's obvious. If I didn't lie, why would he be so flustered?" Frenzy said indifferently. Chapter 3102. You deserve to die. The two law enforcers were furious. Their palms landed on Su Jingshan's body. Accompanied by a shrill scream, Su Jingshan was killed on the spot. When Zhuo Tiansheng saw this scene, he felt a lot more comfortable. I'm sorry. We were foolish and believed his slanderous words. We even injured you. You can punish us however you want. The two enforcers turned to look at Qin Feiyong and said apologetically, Forget it. You don't know the truth. But don't be so arrogant in the future. After all, you are the enforcers of the demonic palace. Your actions represent the demonic palace. The demonic palace gave you the power not to be tyrannical, but to uphold justice and protect the people of the Eastern continent. Qin Feiyong said, Thank you for your advice. We will remember it. The two enforcers bowed. All right then, go back. Qin Feiyong waved his hand. Yes. The two enforcers nodded and their attitude changed. They were respectful and opened an altar and left. Phew! Sun Jingzhong heaved a sigh of relief. It was finally resolved. Previously, he was afraid that these two law enforcers were arrogant and would find some excuse to attack Qin Feiyong and the others. The consequences would be unimaginable. The three enforcers heaved a sigh of relief. Are you all right? Zhuo Tiansheng looked at Qin Feiyong with concern. I'm fine. Qin Feiyong took out a divine life pill and threw it into his mouth. Sun Jingzhong looked at Qin Feiyong and said with a smile, Then I'll take my leave. Come to the demonic palace when you're free. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded and smiled. After Sun Jingzhong left, Zhuo Tiansheng immediately asked, Why do you have Elder Hu's identity token? He gave it to me, Qin Feiyong said. The three enforcers looked at each other. What's wrong with this? Chu Yun gave us her identity token before, but we gave it away. White-Eyed Wolf said indifferently. Ugh. The three of them were stunned, not knowing what to say. With Chu Yun's status in the demonic palace, she could do whatever she wanted in the Eastern continent with her identity token. But these three fellows actually gave it to someone else. Wasn't this a reckless waste of resources? Let's go down, the city lord said. The group returned to the city lord's mansion's conference hall. Who are these people? Even the enforcers of the Devil Palace are so respectful in front of them. It's not just the enforcers of the Demon Royal Halls. Look at Sun Jingzhong's attitude. It's as if he has seen some great character. As soon as Qin Feiyong and the others left, everyone started discussing in low voices. Inside the main hall, Zhuo Tiansheng swallowed a divine life pill and shook his head at Qin Feiyong. It's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to figure it out even if I had 100 mouths. It's a piece of cake. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Old Zhuo, have you brought back the Su family's spirit vein and crystal vein? The city lord asked. Yes. Zhuo Tianqing nodded. Then give them all to them. Also, give them the 2,000 spirit vein and crystal vein that you brought this morning. The city lord said with a smile. Okay. Zhuo Tianqing nodded straightforwardly. He walked out of the main hall and took out the spirit vein and crystal vein from the spatial divine item. Not to mention anything else. Just based on the current relationship between Frenzy and Zhuo Shaoxian, he couldn't be stingy. Qin Feiyong didn't stand on ceremony and took them all. As he expected, the Su family's spirit vein and crystal vein far exceeded the Su family's. There were more than 5,000 of them, and the Su family only had 500 to 600 of them. Qin Feiyong, can you take us to your spatial divine item for a stroll? The city lord suddenly looked at Qin Feiyong and asked. Qin Feiyong hesitated. I'm really curious. What kind of spatial divine item has such a terrifying time formation? Of course, if you're still worried, just pretend I didn't say anything. The city lord smiled. Maybe in the future there will be a chance. Qin Feiyong smiled slightly. All right, I won't force you. The city lord was also very tactful and nodded with a smile. All right then. Zhuo Xiaoqing's matter has been resolved. We'll take our leave first. Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them and said, Where are we going? Zhuo Tiansheng hurriedly asked. Mount Kanglin's snow mountain. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and opened an altar. Are you really going? Zhuo Tiansheng was stunned and hurriedly said, I know I can't stop you, but before you go, you'd better change your appearance. Got it. Qin Feiyang nodded. Zhuo Tiansheng said this out of consideration for the safety of the city Lord Mansion, because if the deputy leader knew that they had come to the city Lord Mansion and helped save Zhuo Xiaoqing, he would definitely suspect their relationship. After the two people and the wolf left, the city lord couldn't help but frown. What's wrong? Zhuo Tiansheng and old Yu looked at him suspiciously. To be honest, compared to the demon palace, we have more advantages. The city lord sighed. Advantages? The two of them looked at each other, even more puzzled. Let them join our itinerant cultivator alliance. With Xiao Xian's relationship, the chances of them joining our itinerant cultivator alliance are definitely higher than the demon palace. But I just don't know what the deputy leader is thinking. He insisted on killing him. Look at it now. Things have turned out this way. The city lord looked melancholic. Zhuo Tianqing smiled and said, Doesn't the deputy leader want to reconcile now? After so many things have happened, do you think Qin Feiyang and the others will reconcile with the deputy leader? In my opinion, they went to the Kanglin snow mountain this time to cause trouble. The city lord shook his head and sighed. If we really can't reconcile, how are we going to face Qin Feiyang and the others in the future? Zhuo Tianqing frowned. On one side was the itinerant cultivator alliance, and on the other side was his future son-in-law. It was a little uncomfortable to be sandwiched in the middle. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Perhaps there will be other possibilities in the future. The city lord shook his head. Now he only hoped that the deputy leader could recognize the value of Qin Feiyang and the others and not make things irreparable. At the same time, outside Wind Sea City, in the sky above a mountain range, two black, armored men stood side by side, holding a sound transmission godstone in their hands. Buzz! Suddenly, a shadow appeared. It was Chu Yun. Greetings, Miss Yun. The two of them bowed. What's the matter? Chu Yun looked at them suspiciously. Earlier, we saw a person in Wind Sea City. He had Elder Hua's identity token in his hand. We just wanted to confirm its authenticity. The two of them recounted the situation back, then in detail. There's no need to think about it. It must be that kid again. Chu Yun shook her head. That kid? The two of them were stunned and said suspiciously, He's clearly a middle-aged man. How could he be a kid? Are you stupid? Don't you know that there's something called the illusory form pill in this world? Chu Yun glared at the two of them in annoyance. So that's how it is. Then who exactly is he? The two of them were puzzled. It doesn't matter who they are. What's important is that you're lucky that you didn't offend them. Otherwise, not to mention Elder Hua, even the Hall Master won't let you off easily. In the future, when you encounter such a thing, use your brain more. Don't be used by others again, Chu Yun said. Yes, the two of them were shocked. Even the Hall Master wouldn't let them off easily. Then wouldn't these two people and one dog be related to the Hall Master? They rejoiced in their hearts. Fortunately, Sun Jingzhong was present. Otherwise, they would be in big trouble this time. Demon Palace. Little Yin, you're reprimanding your subordinates again. Elder who happened to come to look for Chu Yin and chuckled. Chu Yin put away the divine sound transmission stone and shook her head. It's all because of Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo. What are they doing now? Elder Huo was stunned. Chu Yun briefly explained what had happened. Haha, this is a good thing, because this way they will know the importance of this old man's token. In the future, they won't be like your token and give it to others. Elder Hu laughed. Can you not bring up the pot that doesn't boil? Chu Yun's face darkened. When she thought of Qin Feiyang giving the token to Su Yang, she couldn't help but get angry. All right. Elder Hu waved his hand and sat on a chair at the side. He said, I came to look for you because of Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo. What's wrong? Chu Yin was suspicious. You should have heard the news that the deputy leader wants to reconcile with them, right? Elder Hu said, Yes. Chu Yun nodded. Say, if they really reconcile with the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, then wouldn't everything we've done be in vain? Elder Hu sighed. I don't think they'll really reconcile. Chu Yun frowned. In the past, this old man also thought the same, but this old man suddenly remembered that there is still a variable. Elder Hu said. Chu Yun was stunned and asked suspiciously, What variable? Zhuo Shaoxian. This Zhuo Shaoxian is Zhuo Tianqing's daughter, and Zhuo Shaoxian and Madman Mo are in love now. I'm worried that if they really reconcile, will they join the Rogue Cultivator Alliance because of Zhuo Shaoxian? Elder Hu looked worried. This, Chu Yin also fell silent. Elder Hu suddenly grinned and looked at Chu Yin. Xiao Yin, why don't you put up a honey trap or something? Get lost. Chu Yin's face instantly darkened. Seeing this, Elder Hu quickly waved his hand and said, I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously. How can you joke like this? Old thing, you're already so old. Aren't you wicked? Chu Yin's face was filled with anger. Elder Hu smiled embarrassedly and said, How about this? Let's persuade Zhuo Tianqing to join our demon hall. Chu Yun was stunned. After pondering for a while, she nodded and said, This idea is feasible, as long as Zhuo Tianqing joins our demon hall. Then Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo will naturally not go to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, but what? Elder Hu looked at her in confusion. Zhuo Tianqing is loyal to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Can you persuade him? Moreover, as far as I know, the city lord of Winxi City is Zhuo Shaoxian's foster father. And this city lord also dotes on her a lot. It's useless to just persuade Zhuo Tianqing. We have to persuade him as well. Chu Yun shook her head. Nothing in this world is difficult for those who are willing. Besides, our demon hall is so much stronger than the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. As long as we let them weigh the pros and cons, they will understand. I'll leave this matter to you. Elder Hu looked at Chu Yun with a smile on his face. Me again? Chu Yun frowned. If it's not you, then it's me? This old man's old arms and legs are running around all day. Shouldn't you feel sorry for me? Besides, this is all for the good of the demon hall. In short, we have to erase all the uncertain factors in advance and hold Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo tightly in our hands. Then it's settled. Thank you for your hard work. I'll wait for your good news. Elder Hu chuckled, then turned around with his hands behind his back and leisurely walked away, leaving Chu Yun standing there alone and sulking. Ever since Qin Feiyang and Madman came to the Sky Cloud realm, they had been circling around the two of them all day long. Chapter 30:103 Azure Wave Snow Mountain. Snow flew everywhere, and the cold air was bone-chilling. As far as the eye could see, everything was snow-white. Thick cedar trees stood stubbornly between the snow mountains. Snow covered their branches and leaves. From afar, they looked like snow-white umbrellas. There were also all kinds of fierce beasts hiding in the mountains. There were large snow bears, small and agile snow foxes. Their cultivation was also very strong. There were imperishable realm and ruler realm. In short, this was a very dangerous place. Shua! Suddenly, two people and one wolf appeared above a glacier. It was Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. However, they had changed their appearances. Qin Feiyang and Madman had changed their appearances into two old men with white hair. They were in their 70s or 80s and were trembling as if they couldn't even walk properly. The white-eyed wolf turned into a yellow old wolf. The reason why he added the word old was because it looked really old right now. The hair on his body was dim and dull, and some parts of his body were even shedding. His eyes were dim and lifeless, as if he was about to die. Is there a need to do this? The white-eyed wolf was a bit unhappy with its current appearance. Didn't you hear Elder Huas say that even he needs to use a ruler weapon to enter the Alliance capital? You can imagine how dangerous this place is. Therefore, it is necessary to hide and cover up. Madman said. Elder Hua also said that the Azure Wave Snow Mountain has a barrier, not to mention entering the Alliance capital. Even entering the barrier would be very difficult. Qin Feiyang muttered. What's so difficult about that? Just let Qin Batian use the laws of space and time to bring us in. But have you really thought about it? This isn't a joke. Madman looked at Qin Feiyang with a serious expression. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and looked at the man and wolf. If I say we don't go now, will you agree? No. Madman and the white-eyed wolf grinned. They came for the Alliance capital. If they didn't go now, wouldn't they have come for nothing? That's right. Let's go and take a look at the situation. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he retracted his aura and flew forward. The madman and the white-eyed wolf also retracted their auras to the extreme. About several hundred breaths later, 2 people and 1 wolf suddenly stopped and looked at the glacier in front of them. In front of them was still an endless glacier, but there was no snow on the mountains or on the trees. They looked up at the sky again and found that the snowflakes that were falling from the sky seemed to have met something high up in the sky. They immediately dissipated and melted. Qin Feiyang walked over, raised his arm, and reached into the void. Immediately, he came into contact with an invisible object in the void, and with a slight push, a screen of light appeared. There really is a barrier. Qin Feiyang muttered. I feel that this spirit formation is pretty strong. The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and quickly walked over to examine the barrier. The owner of this barrier must be the Alliance Master of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. As the Alliance Master of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, his strength must have reached the peak, which is the peak of the Dominator realm. How could the barrier he set up be weak? Quickly hide! Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's expression changed. He grabbed the madman and the white-eyed wolf, activated the concealment technique, and instantly hid in the void. What's wrong? The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at him in surprise. There's someone. Qin Feiyang stared ahead. After Qin Feiyang retracted his arm, the screen of light that appeared once again hid in the void. Shwa! About 2 to 3 breaths later, a burly figure descended on an ice mountain in front of them. It was a middle-aged man about 9 meters tall. Although the cold wind was bone-piercing, he was only wearing a pair of large pants, revealing his muscles that were filled with explosive power. Judging from his aura, he should be a peak dominator. The madman transmitted. At the same time, the middle-aged man scanned the void and frowned slightly. What's going on? Previously, I clearly felt a reaction from the barrier here. Why is there nothing now? The middle-aged man muttered. Suddenly, he stepped forward and landed in front of the barrier, facing Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They were extremely nervous. Don't release your divine sense. The madman was silently waiting in his heart. Although the concealment technique could hide them, it couldn't block divine sense. The divine moon jade pendant also couldn't. This was because the divine moon jade pendant could only block divine sense below the dominator realm. Suddenly, the middle-aged man looked at Qin Feiyang's feet. On the snow, there were many footprints. Not good. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf's expressions changed. They could hide in the void, but they couldn't hide the footprints they left behind. They had to make a prompt decision. Qin Feiyang brought the madman and the white-eyed wolf into the black tortoise world. He immediately controlled the black tortoise world and flew away without looking back. Just as Qin Feiyang's group was escaping, the middle-aged man's eyes flashed. He took out a token and pressed it against the void. The light screen appeared again and quickly cracked. Immediately after, the middle-aged man stepped out of the crack. His divine sense surged out like a tide. He actually waited until he came out before releasing his divine sense. Could it be that this barrier has the ability to isolate divine sense? The madman looked at the middle-aged man and couldn't help but frown. In the blink of an eye, the middle-aged man's divine sense covered the sky. As a peak dominator, his speed was naturally not something Qin Feiyang could compare to. His divine sense quickly caught up to the black tortoise world. "Who is it?" The middle-aged man suddenly shouted. He put away the token and stepped out, chasing after the black tortoise world. "What do we do?" The white-eyed wolf asked in panic. "Is there even a need to ask? Go out and kill him." The madman said, "Me." The white-eyed wolf was astonished. "If it's not you, then it's us. Don't try to hide anything. You could even insta-kill the Sioux family patriarch. You're definitely more than enough to deal with him." The madman laughed. "Scram! That old man from the Sioux family is only a half-step dominator, but this person is a peak dominator. Are they on the same level?" The white-eyed wolf angrily glared at him. "Being so humble isn't like you." The madman laughed in ridicule. "I don't have time to talk nonsense with you." The white-eyed wolf glared at him, then turned to Qin Feiyang. "He's too fast. We won't be able to escape." Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Suddenly, a terrifying smile appeared in his eyes. "Since we can't escape, then let's kill him." A peak dominator wasn't undefeatable. "Right, kill him. Doesn't he have a token to open the barrier? As long as we have this token, we can freely enter and exit the barrier." The madman laughed. "Then let's do it." The white-eyed wolf laughed. The two people and one wolf immediately hit it off. They were also a bit excited. This was the first time they had truly fought a peak dominator. Although they had had conflicts with Zhuo Tianqing before, they had never truly fought. "Still want to run?" The middle-aged man's eyes flashed coldly as his divine sense locked onto the black tortoise world. With a wave of his hand, a surge of divine power surged toward the black tortoise world. At the same time, he activated a support-type divine art, doubling his speed. Seeing the middle-aged man close the distance between them, the madman frowned. "We're not far enough. If we act now, we'll probably alarm the people of the Alliance capital." Qin Feiyang nodded. The middle-aged man wasn't that scary, but if the people of the Alliance capital were alerted, it would be difficult. "Why don't we lure him to the black tortoise world?" The white-eyed wolf suddenly spoke. "What?" The madman and Qin Feiyang looked at him in shock. Luring him to the black tortoise world. Wasn't that the same as luring a wolf into the house? "We'll lure him to the western region. This way, he won't harm the creatures of the black tortoise world." The white-eyed wolf said. "That's right." The madman slapped his head. The western region was specifically used to store fresh blood. Without a single creature, even if they fought in the western region, they wouldn't harm the innocent. The idea isn't bad, but can the black tortoise world withstand a battle of this level? Qin Feiyang frowned. After all, the other party was a peak dominator. It should be able to. Because after the black tortoise world fused with the ancient castle, its strength is the same as the ancient castle. Right now, the ancient castle is a dominator weapon, so the black tortoise world strength is equivalent to a dominator weapon. The madman guessed. Qin Feiyang clenched his teeth and nodded. "Okay, let's close the door and beat the dog." With that, he closed his eyes and released his perception. he found that many creatures in the western region were bleeding blood. Thank you for your help. There will be a great battle later. In order to avoid harming you, I'll send you out of the western region first. Qin Feiyang said in his mind, transmitting it into the minds of all the creatures. A great battle? The creatures who were bleeding couldn't help but be stunned. But before they could react, they felt their bodies lighten, and the next moment they appeared in the other 3 regions. This way, there really wasn't a single creature in the entire western region. Qin Feiyang also retracted his perception and appeared in the sky above the western region with the madman and the white-eyed wolf. The sea of blood below surged, emitting a monstrous, murderous aura. Now there's a problem. How do we get him in? If your cultivation is stronger than his, you can forcefully bring him in. But you're only at the peak of the immortal realm. The difference is too big. The white-eyed wolf frowned. That's simple. I need Snowflake's help. Qin Feiyang smiled and called Snowflake out of the land of origin. Something else? There was a trace of impatience in Snowflake's voice. The white-eyed wolf immediately said angrily, "We asked you to cultivate in the land of origin, and now you're helping us do something. What's with the attitude?" Okay. Please tell me what to do. Snowflake was helpless. She had no choice but to bow to these villains under the eaves. I don't have time to explain to you now. When we go out later, just do as I say. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he left the black tortoise realm with Snowflake. Outside, the middle-aged man was already close. Suddenly, seeing Qin Feiyang and Snowflake appear, the man was slightly stunned. We just happened to pass by. We mean no harm. Qin Feiyang hurriedly explained, looking terrified. Passing by? When the middle-aged man heard this, he immediately sneered and said, Passing by and stopping in front of the barrier. Are you stupid? Or do you think I'm stupid and easy to fool? Chapter 3104. Looks like you're not stupid. Qin Feiyang laughed hoarsely. His voice was like that of an old man. You're courting death. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed coldly. His divine power surged toward Qin Feiyang and Snowflake. Qin Feiyang immediately said, Open the passage to the western region. Snowflake heard him. As the space-time law emerged, a space-time passage appeared. Others couldn't enter the black tortoise world because of the castle, but as one of them, it naturally wouldn't stop them. The passage to the western region was quickly completed. Go. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and took Snowflake to escape into the passage. Space-time teleportation? I didn't expect there to be such a heaven-defying divine artifact. But do you think it's possible to escape from under my nose? The middle-aged man smiled disdainfully. He activated the auxiliary divine technique to the extreme and instantly rushed into the space-time passage. However, when he rushed out from the other side of the space-time passage, he was stunned when he saw the boundless sea of blood around him. Where was this? Was there such a place in the eastern continent? Welcome to my world. A mocking voice sounded. The middle-aged man looked up and saw Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Frenzy standing in the sky. Snowflake was also floating beside Qin Feiyang. The space-time passage was also quickly closing under Snowflake's control. Who are you? The middle-aged man frowned. For some reason, when he came here, he had a bad premonition in his heart. As for Qin Feiyang's welcome to my world, he didn't take it to heart. Because many people like to call their own world and their own territory or spatial divine items. Is it important who we are? The important thing is that you're really easy to trick. It's so easy to trick you into coming here. White-Eyed Wolf looked at him playfully. So what if I trick you into coming here? Do you think ants like you can kill me? The middle-aged man took a step forward. A terrifying aura suddenly rushed toward them. Clang! Snowflake shook violently. a monstrous divine power appeared and collided with the middle-aged man's aura. Suddenly, a violent gale blew in this place, and a sea of blood surged. You want to kill me with just a peak-level, heaven-defying divine artifact? Naive. The middle-aged man's face was filled with disdain. A pinnacle-grade, heaven-defying divine artifact was equivalent to a large success sovereign. But in comparison, heaven-defying divine artifacts were weaker. This was because hegemons at the level of mastery were in control of 4 types of laws. As for heaven-defying artifacts, although their power was comparable, they did not have an advantage in terms of laws. Therefore, if it was a real bloody battle, Snowflake might not be a match for the middle-aged man. But were there only snowflakes in the Black Tortoise realm? Of course not. There are more than a dozen peak-grade, heaven-defying divine artifacts. If they were not strong enough, then they would rely on numbers. More than a dozen peak-grade, heaven-defying divine artifacts were enough to crush the middle-aged man. Are you naive, or am I? If I didn't have a certain amount of confidence, would I dare to let you come here? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Stop trying to act all mysterious. The middle-aged man threw a punch at the snowflake, and the void here immediately began to collapse. Clang! Snowflake fully recovered and charged forward. A terrifying wave of battle instantly spread across the western region. It was as if the void was collapsing and the sky was trembling. It was as if doomsday had arrived. Oh no! Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted as he hurriedly released his perception. Then his expression changed. What's wrong? The madman and the white-eyed wolf were surprised. We underestimated the current snowflake. It is now a pinnacle-grade, heaven-defying divine artifact, and its power is many times stronger than before. As for the Black Tortoise realm, although it has grown a lot over the years, it is now only comparable to the Divine Land. The western region is equivalent to the northern part of the Divine Land. Back then, when the Sunset Divine Bow was still a low-grade, heaven-defying divine artifact, it fully recovered and could affect half of the northern region. Not to mention a pinnacle-grade, heaven-defying divine artifact. If it doesn't stop, the other 3 regions will definitely be affected. Qin Feiyang said solemnly. What? The current Black Tortoise realm is only comparable to the Divine Land. The madman frowned. The growth rate of the Black Tortoise realm is already very fast, okay? Because the last time I saw it, it was only half the size of the Divine Land. Qin Feiyang said, That is indeed a bit of a miscalculation. We must end this quickly. The madman's eyes darkened. What are you doing? At this time, Brat appeared. His little face was full of anger. I'm a little embarrassed. 2 people and 1 wolf smiled embarrassedly. What nonsense. Brat looked at the middle-aged man and Snowflake, and then glared at Qin Feiyang, the madman and the white-eyed wolf. Then he waved his little hand, and a stream of origin energy suddenly descended from the sky, sealing off the entire western region. Qin Feiyang had been releasing his perception to check the situation around the western region. The moment the origin energy descended, the fluctuations of the battle were immediately sealed within the western region. Fortunately, Qin Feiyang breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, my ass. Do you know how much origin energy is wasted? Brat glared at Qin Feiyang angrily, and then summoned all the pinnacle-level heaven-defying artifacts. Sunset Divine Bow, Sky-Breaking Halberd, Thick Earth Shield, 7-Star Rod, White Jade Sword, Black Crow Fan, Golden Scale Sword, Demon-Breaking Hammer, God-Destroying Whip, Blood Blade. These were the top 10 heaven-defying artifacts of the dragons. There was also the Fire Lotus's heaven-defying artifact, Axe. There was also Mu Tianyang's heaven-defying artifact, Blood Blade. There was also the pinnacle-level heaven-defying artifact that the madman snatched from Yi Yuan's hands, the Slaughter Magic Sword. Together with Snowflake, There were a total of 14 pinnacle-level heaven-defying artifacts. Kill him for me. Brat pointed at the middle-aged man and roared. To cultivate in the land of Source, one must first get Brat's permission. Therefore, in the eyes of these heaven-defying artifacts, Brat had more prestige than Qin Feiyang. They didn't dare to have any thoughts of disobeying him. Following Brat's roar, the 13 heaven-defying artifacts immediately awakened and joined the battlefield, crazily beating the middle-aged man together with Snowflake. There are actually so many. The middle-aged man was also dumbfounded. 1, 2, a total of 14 pinnacle-level heaven-defying artifacts. What kind of joke was this? If he didn't see it with his own eyes, who would dare to believe that a few undead realm ants actually had 14 pinnacle-level heaven-defying artifacts? Ah! Screams continuously sounded. Facing absolute suppression, no matter what the middle-aged man did, he could only be beaten up. But in the blink of an eye, his entire body was covered in blood. Clang! A golden sword light shot over. This is... The middle-aged man's eyes trembled. Why did this look a bit like Qin Feiyang's heaven-defying artifact? Back then, no matter if it was the battle between the madman and Yi Yuan or the battle between Qin Feiyang and Yi Tian, the golden scale sword had appeared. So no one was unfamiliar with the golden scale sword. The Rogue Cultivator Alliance was also the same. Although many people hadn't seen it with their own eyes back then, they had all heard of it. There were even some people who used voice transmission godstones to record the battle back then. So everyone knew about the golden scale sword. That's right. That's it. When he saw the golden scale sword clearly, the middle-aged man's eyes trembled. Didn't that mean that the two people in front of him could be Qin Feiyang and Madman M.O.? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. Who in the Eastern continent didn't know that Qin Feiyang and Madman M.O. had sovereign divine weapons? The fear and despair in his heart swept over him like a tide. Sovereign divine weapons. That was an insurmountable mountain. Not to mention him. Even a peak dominator could only despair in the face of a sovereign divine weapon. In an instant, he didn't even have the courage to fight. The golden scale sword light was like a graceful swan as it directly entered the middle-aged man's lower abdomen. Ah! Accompanied by a painful scream. The middle-aged man's sea of qi shattered on the spot, and a bloody hole appeared in his lower abdomen. Blood gushing out! Done. Little Wimp smiled proudly and shouted, "Withdraw your auras, all of you." As soon as he said that, the 14 peak-level heaven-defying divine weapons immediately shut down, and their auras gradually dissipated. Why do they look like a pack of wolves? Qin Feiyang, Little Wimp, and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Originally, they wanted to fight a few rounds with this person to see how big the gap was. But they didn't expect that a group of heaven-defying divine weapons would take care of him so quickly. Although they had already expected that it would be a crushing defeat, this was too fast, wasn't it? It was as if they were beating up a child. Hurry up and deal with it. Also, don't do such stupid things in the future, or I'll throw all of you out. Little Wimp glared at Qin Feiyang, Little Wimp, and the white-eyed wolf. Understood, understood. The two men and the wolf nodded repeatedly. They were in the wrong and could only obediently take the scolding. Humph! Little Wimp snorted coldly and disappeared without a trace. But the 14 peak-level, heaven-defying divine weapons didn't leave and surrounded the middle-aged man. The origin energy around the western region didn't dissipate either, because the ripples from the battle were still there. If the origin energy were to dissipate now, the other 3 regions would still be destroyed. You are all peak-level heaven-defying divine weapons. You have self-respect. You have pride. Why do you have to submit to them? Especially you, Magic Sword Slayer. The middle-aged man lay in the void in a sorry state, looking weakly at the 14 heaven-defying divine weapons. Magic Sword Slayer was Yi Yuan's heaven-defying divine weapon, so he naturally recognized it. Magic Sword Slayer said calmly, "Because they have the capital to make us follow them wholeheartedly. Capital, just because of the sovereign divine weapon. The middle-aged man glared at Magic Sword Slayer. There are some things that you won't understand. Magic Sword Slayer replied calmly. I don't understand, but I know that the vice leader won't let a traitor like you go. The middle-aged man roared. Traitor? You're human. What right do you have to use our heaven-defying divine weapons? Magic Sword Slayer's words were full of disdain. Fine. We don't have the right, but Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo do. Just be their lackey. The middle-aged man sneered. You're courting death. Magic Sword Slayer was furious. A sword light appeared and rushed toward the middle-aged man with terrifying sharpness. Don't kill him yet, Qin Feiyang said. Magic Sword Slayer was stunned. He quickly dispersed the sword light and asked suspiciously, Why don't you kill him? He's still useful. Qin Feiyang walked in front of the middle-aged man and said with a smile, Give me the universe ring. What do you want? The middle-aged man looked at Qin Feiyang warily. Just give it to me. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Magic Sword Slayer yelled. The middle-aged man glared at Magic Sword Slayer, took off the universe ring, erased the blood contract, and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang took the universe ring and dripped blood on it. He searched for a while and finally found the token. A smile appeared on his face. This was what he wanted. Are there any other treasures inside? The white-eyed wolf looked at the universe ring in Qin Feiyang's hand. Take it and look for it yourself. Qin Feiyang threw the universe ring to the white-eyed wolf. He was not interested in anything else. Chapter 3105. White-eyed wolf grabbed the yin and yang ring and checked it expectantly. Madman glanced at the token in Qin Feiyang's hand and chuckled. Then we can easily enter the Alliance capital now. You want to go to the Alliance capital? The middle-aged man heard this and looked at the two in shock. Why? We can't go. Madman glanced at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man sized up the two and shook his head. I really admire your guts. Are you guys Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo? Isn't this obvious? Madman gave a mocking smile. It really is you guys. Why are you going to the Alliance capital? Are you here to reconcile? The middle-aged man was suspicious. Are you stupid? If we were here to reconcile, would we be so sneaky? Madman was speechless. Then what are you guys doing? The middle-aged man was bewildered. I am a bit confused. You are about to die, and instead of worrying about yourself, you are worried about our goal. Are you really not afraid of death? Madman looked at the middle-aged man with an evil gaze. The middle-aged man shivered. That's right. He couldn't even protect himself, so why would he care about this? I am a very easy person to talk to. As long as you agree to follow me, I will let you live. Qin Feiyang smiled the middle-aged man. Follow you? The middle-aged man was stunned and said in a deep voice, You want me to betray the rogue Cultivator Alliance? Yes, I want you to betray the rogue Cultivator Alliance. There is a good saying, a wise man submits to circumstances. It wasn't easy for you to reach the large success stage, so you should cherish your little life. I will give you 10 breaths of time to consider. Qin Feiyang said and looked at the middle-aged man silently. The middle-aged man looked at Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo before looking at the 14-peak great heaven defying divine artifacts. His expression was filled with struggle, although he had not come into contact with Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo. From the matter of them killing Yuan, he could tell that they were not afraid of the rogue Cultivator Alliance. If he didn't agree, there would be no way for him to live today. Just as Qin Feiyang had said, it was indeed not easy to reach the level of a sovereign. It was incomparably difficult to thoroughly comprehend the power of every law. Who would be willing to die like this? However, if he really betrayed the rogue Cultivator Alliance, he would definitely be hunted down and retaliated by the Rogue Cultivator Alliance in the future. As a senior figure of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, he understood the terror of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance better than anyone else. Once they found out that he had betrayed them, they would hunt him down endlessly. They might even implicate his family. He couldn't afford to pay such a price. 10 breaths are up. Give me an answer. Qin Feiyang said. Who? The middle-aged man took a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes. Kill me. Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other. Are they really not afraid of death? I'm afraid of death, but I'm more afraid of implicating my family, because my family is in the Alliance capital. If I were to join you, the Vice Alliance Master would not let my family off. The middle-aged man said expressionlessly, if he were to join Qin Feiyang, he and his family would be hunted down and retaliated against. If he were to die for his loyalty, although he would die, he could at least protect his family. Furthermore, seeing how loyal he was, the upper echelons of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance would definitely take care of his family in the future. After weighing the pros and cons, he chose to die himself. Qin Feiyang said in surprise, I didn't expect you to be a man who cares so much about his family. The middle-aged man said indifferently, don't say so much. If you want to kill me, do as you wish. You have quite a backbone. All right. Qin Feiyang grabbed the slaughter magic sword and slashed at the middle-aged man's head. But even so, the middle-aged man didn't frown. The slaughter magic sword stopped above the middle-aged man's head and cut off a few strands of his hair. Sensing that the slaughter magic sword hadn't landed for a long time, the middle-aged man opened his eyes suspiciously and looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He put down the slaughter magic sword and said, What if I tell you that I can save your family? Save my family. The middle-aged man's heart trembled. If I save your family, will you serve me wholeheartedly? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. The middle-aged man nodded without hesitation. As long as he could save his family from disaster, he was willing to do anything. All right. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the slavery seal appeared and said, Accept my control first, and when I enter the Alliance capital, I will bring your family to the Black Tortoise realm. However, hearing this, the middle-aged man hesitated, because once he was controlled by Qin Feiyang, what would happen in the future would not be something he could decide. If you don't agree, I will kill you and tell the vice leader that you betrayed the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Although what I said is a lie, the vice leader will definitely take it seriously. At that time, your family will still not be able to escape death. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. You! The middle-aged man glared at Qin Feiyang. What? You want to scold me for being despicable? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Not only despicable, you are simply shameless, scum. You will die a horrible death. The middle-aged man roared. You can scold me however you want. You have no choice anyway. Qin Feiyang said. The middle-aged man stared at Qin Feiyang, his eyes filled with helplessness and resentment. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the slavery seal immediately entered the middle-aged man's head. Aren't you afraid that he will resist? Frenzy was shocked. He is a family man, so he knows what to do. Qin Feiyang thought. Sure enough, the middle-aged man struggled for a moment before giving up, and the slavery seal was successfully completed. I have to remind you, the slavery seal can not only ignore distance and instantly erase your divine soul, but it can also peek into your inner thoughts, so you better not play any tricks. Qin Feiyang smiled. What? Ignore distance? Peek into your inner thoughts? The middle-aged man's face suddenly turned pale. He never thought that this kind of control secret technique would be so terrifying. Don't be so nervous. As long as you work for me wholeheartedly, not only will I not do anything to you, but I will also treat you as a friend. I am like this. If you treat me well, I will repay you 100 times, 1,000 times. But if you dare to go against me, then my means are not to be trifled with." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. "I don't dare." The middle-aged man quickly shook his head, and his expression became respectful. "All right, what's your name?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. "Zhao Eryong." The middle-aged man hurriedly replied. The white-eyed wolf asked curiously, "Then, little brave, what kind of laws have you grasped?" "Little brave?" The middle-aged man was stunned. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "To the people around him, the white-eyed wolf calls him that. To him, this is a kind of affectionate name." The middle-aged man smiled bitterly. "This could be called affectionate? I have grasped the laws of wind, force, darkness, light, and now I have comprehended the law of water, and I have comprehended the first profound." Zhao Eryong spoke with a trace of pride between his brows. Having grasped 5 types of laws, he indeed had the qualifications to be proud. "Then, when you completely comprehend the law of water, will you be able to break through to perfect dominator?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Yes." Zhao Eryong nodded. "A quasi-perfect dominator. In that case, we can be considered to have picked up a big bargain?" Qin Feiyang looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf in astonishment. "It is indeed a big bargain." The madman nodded with a smile. Since Zhao Eryong had already grasped the law of water, it was only a matter of time before he stepped into perfect dominator. "You are indeed not bad. But don't think that just because you have the qualifications to step into perfect dominator, you can bare your fangs and brandish your claws in front of us. What we need is companions and support, not someone who thinks he is infallible. In short, for someone who can't be of the same mind as us, even if he is a peerless monster, I won't care." Qin Feiyang looked at Zhao Eryong and warned. "Yes." Zhao Eryong hurriedly withdrew his arrogant expression. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Besides, you don't have the qualifications to be arrogant in front of us." When Zhao Eryong heard this, he was somewhat unconvinced. It was fine to talk about other things, but when it came to this, why didn't he who grasped 5 types of laws have the qualifications to be arrogant? You want to know? Look at my senior brother. He is only at the small success imperishable realm, but he has already grasped 4 types of laws. When he breaks through to the large success dominator, what kind of achievements do you think he will have? Qin Feiyang pointed at the madman and said indifferently, "What? You have grasped 4 types of laws." Zhao Eryong looked at the madman in shock. Didn't he hear that this kid only grasped the law of slaughter? What you have seen and heard is only the tip of the iceberg. Do you know how many types of laws old Qin has grasped? If I say it, you will be scared to death. He has grasped 7 types of laws. The madman had a look of contempt. 7. Zhao Eryong's expression froze as he looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. 7 types of laws, heavens, is he still human? Other youngsters only began to comprehend the power of laws after stepping into perfect imperishable realm. But these 2 youngsters in front of him, one grasped 4 types of laws, and the other grasped 7 types of laws. What were those so-called monstrous geniuses famous in the Eastern continent in front of these 2? Dog fart. Terrifying. To be able to comprehend so many types of laws at such a young age, his future achievements were unimaginable. Only then did he realize what kind of people the vice leader had offended. If they were to grow up, not to mention their rogue cultivator alliance, even the demon hall wouldn't be able to stop their sharpness. Chapter 3106. This time, Zhao Eryong was completely convinced. Compared to these 2 young people, his achievements were nothing to be proud of. The other party was just keeping a low profile and didn't want to attract attention. Otherwise, he would have long become a hot genius in the Eastern continent. "Let's go," Madman said. He couldn't wait to go to the Alliance capital. Qin Feiyang nodded and led the two and the white-eyed wolf out of the black tortoise world. Soon, they returned to the front of the barrier. Qin Feiyang took out the token and pressed it against the barrier. A crack immediately appeared silently. Immediately, the three people and one wolf stepped into the barrier. It was still cold inside the barrier. At a glance, there were glaciers everywhere. However, when they entered the barrier, Qin Feiyang could feel the rich energy of the spirit vein and crystal vein, which was several times stronger than outside. How many spirit vein and crystal vein are there underground? Madman looked at the glaciers under his feet, his eyes flashing. Don't be impulsive. What is this bit of spirit vein and crystal vein? If we want to do it, we have to do it big. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Zhao Eryong looked at Madman and the white-eyed wolf, the corner of his mouth twitching. So they were here to rob? Sure enough, as the rumors said, these were a few lawless lords. Madman turned to look at Zhao Eryong and said unhappily, Eryong, why aren't you leading the way? Zhao Eryong was taken aback and shook his head. I can't leave here. Why? Madman was suspicious. I was ordered to guard this place. Without special circumstances, I can't leave my post. Zhao Eryong said. I see. Madman nodded and asked, How many people like you are there? There are a total of 10 people. They are guarding the 10 directions of the Azure Wave Snow Mountain. Their cultivation is the same as mine. Zhao Eryong said. Madman was taken aback and asked doubtfully, So you are the only one here? Yes. Zhao Eryong nodded. Madman thought for a while and asked, How far is this place from the Alliance capital? Zhao Eryong thought for a moment and said, With your current cultivation, you should need an hour to reach the Alliance capital. Madman looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Then let's directly activate the altar and go over. No, it's impossible to activate the altar within this barrier. Even the laws of space and time won't work. Zhao Eryong hurriedly said. 2 people and 1 wolf looked at him in surprise. Zhao Eryong said, Because this barrier is formed from the laws of space and time. Evolved from the laws of space-time, the 2 humans and 1 wolf looked up at the sky, a trace of relief in their eyes. Fortunately, they did not barge indirectly. Otherwise, they would be like turtles in a jar, unable to escape even if they had wings. Not even a space-time, teleportation divine artifact. Madman looked at Zhao Eryong and asked. None of them. Unless your comprehension of the space-time laws surpasses the Alliance Masters. Zhao Eryong shook his head. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He frowned and said, So this barrier was set up by your Alliance Master himself. That's right. Although the overall strength of our Rogue Cultivator Alliance can't compare to super forces like Demon Palace and Blood Palace, the Alliance Master's comprehension of the laws of space and time is recognized as the number 1 person in the entire Sky Cloud realm. In other words, no one in the entire Sky Cloud realm can force their way into this barrier. Of course, excluding sovereign divine weapons. Zhao Eryong explained. Recognized as the number 1 person? No wonder even Elder Hu felt a headache when mentioning this. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang muttered and looked down at the token in his hand. That thing was even more important, because this was the only key to leave the barrier. Zhao Eryong glanced at the token and said, You have to return this token to me. Return it to you? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes, there are often people coming in and out of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. They all need this token. If I can't take it out when the time comes, it will definitely arouse suspicion. Moreover, losing this token is also a great crime. Zhao Eryong said. Madman raised his eyebrows and said, Could it be that you're the only one in the entire Rogue Cultivator Alliance with this token? That's not it. The 10 people guarding the border have 1 each. The Vice Alliance leader and the 10 elders also have 1 each. Other than that, no one else has won. Therefore, if others want to enter or leave the Azure Wave Snow Mountain, they have to pass through here. If someone really comes back from the outside, or if someone has something to do and I can't open the barrier, how will I explain it to them? Zhao Eryong had a difficult expression. Madman sized up Zhao Eryong and transmitted his voice. Old Qin, did he say anything? No. Qin Feiyang secretly said. He had been peeking into Zhao Eryong's heart. These were all from the bottom of his heart and weren't fake. But now, he really needed this token. If he entered the Alliance capital and something happened, he could escape immediately with this token. If he returned it to Zhao Eryong, then he would have to come back to find him. It would take an hour to reach the Alliance capital. In an emergency, an hour was very long and many variables could happen during this time. Quickly give me the token and then hide. Suddenly, Zhao Eryong seemed to have noticed something and turned his head to the front. He was shocked and hurriedly transmitted his voice to the two people and one wolf. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and followed Zhao Eryong's gaze. There was a trace of suspicion in his eyes, but soon he sensed more than a dozen auras rushing over. Qin Feiyang quickly returned the token to Zhao Eryong and then entered the Black Tortoise realm with Madman and the White-Eyed Wolf. After a few breaths, more than a dozen young men and women flew through the air and landed in front of Zhao Eryong. They bowed and said, "Greetings, Lord Zhao. Are you going out?" Zhao Eryong sized up the dozen people and asked, "Yes, we want to go out and train." The dozen people nodded. Their cultivation wasn't bad between the half-step invincible realm and the greater success realm. Then be careful. Also, don't provoke Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo. After all, the Vice Alliance leader has already released the news of reconciliation with them. Zhao Eryong warned. Even Brother Yi Tian isn't their match. How would we dare to provoke them? Don't worry. The dozen people smiled bitterly. That's good. Zhao Eryong turned around and used the token to open the barrier. After the dozen people left the barrier and disappeared at the end of the glacier, Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf appeared. You saw it too, right? The token must be in my hands. Otherwise, when the higher-ups investigate, I will definitely die. At the same time, it will also make them suspicious. Will the token fall into the hands of criminals? This way, the entire Alliance capital will be under martial law. At that time, it will be impossible for you to sneak in. Zhao Eryong said. All right then. Qin Feiyang nodded. That's the most sensible thing to do. Because of the existence of the barrier, no one will think that you can sneak in. So as long as you hide a little, you can enter and leave the Alliance capital as you wish. Zhao Eryong said as he took out 2 tokens. The 2 tokens were only the size of a baby's palm and were completely white. There was a large black word engraved on it, Alliance. This is the identity token of a member of the Alliance capital. Take this identity token and no one will stop you from entering the Alliance capital. Zhao Eryong said as he handed the 2 tokens to Qin Feiyang and Madman. Where's brother? The White-Eyed Wolf glanced at Madman and Qin Feiyang before asking Zhao Eryong. There are no berserk beasts. Also, the Alliance capital doesn't allow berserk beasts to enter, so you better not follow them. Zhao Eryong said, This is discrimination. The White-Eyed Wolf immediately glared at Zhao Eryong. This is the rule set by the higher-ups. It's useless to glare at me. Zhao Eryong smiled bitterly. Madman chuckled and said, Then, Brother Wolf, you can go back to the Black Tortoise world. I'll go. I'm still thinking of going to cultivate. The White-Eyed Wolf coldly snorted. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled as he sent the White-Eyed Wolf back to the Black Tortoise world. Zhao Eryong looked at Qin Feiyang and Madman and said, These 2 tokens still need to be engraved with your names. Just think of a name. Got it. Qin Feiyang and Madman nodded. Also, Zhao Eryong waved his hand and condensed 3 figures. One of them was a middle-aged woman about 40 years old. She looked dignified and virtuous. The other two were a man and a woman. They both looked young. The young man was about 8 meters tall. His body was also quite strong. He had short black hair, and there was an inconspicuous scar at the corner of his eye. As for the young woman, she was about 20 years old. She was about 7 meters tall. She had an exquisite figure and an outstanding appearance. She wore a set of tight black clothes. Her long black hair was tied together. She looked valiant and youthful. They are my wife and children. They live in the suburbs of the Alliance capital's East City. I can be considered a little famous in the Alliance capital. You will know when you ask around. Please, you must take them away. Zhao Eryong looked at Qin Feiyang and Madman with a pleading look. What are their names? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. My wife is called Wang Shui. My son and daughter are called Zhao Yang and Zhao Shaojin respectively. Zhao Eryong said. Wang Shui, Zhao Yang, Zhao Shaojin, Qin Feiyang muttered and nodded. I will remember. Then I wish you all a safe journey. Zhao Eryong cupped his hands. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. They consumed an illusory form pill and transformed into 2 young men. Next, Madman waved his hand and a name appeared on the token. Mo Wu Hui. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang also casually thought of a name and engraved it. Mo Wu Yuan. You are taking advantage of me? Madman raised his eyebrows. And Qin Feiyang was stunned. You don't know that my foster father is called Mo Wu Yuan. If you are not taking advantage of me, what is? Madman said angrily. Ah, Qin Feiyang was stunned and smiled. I really didn't think of it. I just thought of it in passing. Change it immediately. Madman's face was black. No. Once this name is engraved, it can't be changed because there can't be any traces of modification. Zhao Eryong hurriedly said. Qin Feiyang looked at Madman and smiled. You heard it right? It can't be changed. Then give me another token. Madman looked at Zhao Eryong and said, Do you think this is a radish or cabbage? These 2 empty tokens were left behind when I used to work in the duty hall. This thing can't be taken casually. Zhao Eryong was speechless. When Madman heard this, he glared at Qin Feiyang again. Isn't it just a name? Besides, your foster father is called Mo Wu Yuan. My current name is Mo Wu Yuan. There is a difference of 1 word. Qin Feiyang said. Don't they have the same meaning? Madman said angrily. One is the origin of the source, the other is the fate of fate. How can they have the same meaning? Qin Feiyang was helpless. He put away the command token, soared into the sky, turned around, and flew forward. Stop! Let's make it clear first! Madman let out a furious roar and charged towards Qin Feiyang at lightning speed. Looking at the back of the two, Zhao Eryong couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. But soon his face was full of worry. He hoped that nothing unexpected would happen. Otherwise, not only would he be finished, his family would also suffer. Chapter 3107. Along the way, they encountered all sorts of beasts. Sovereign realm beasts were everywhere, but none of them attacked Qin Feiyang. It was indeed as Zhao Eryong said. With the barrier set up by the Alliance head, be it the people from the Wandering Cultivator Alliance or the beasts here, they wouldn't expect anyone to sneak in. Then they would naturally think that Qin Feiyang and Madman were from the Alliance capital. Not long later, the two of them met many people. Some were in groups of 3 to 5, while some were walking alone. They were basically there to train. When they saw Madman and Qin Feiyang, regardless of whether they knew them or not, they would greet them from afar. Qin Feiyang was surprised. The people from the Wandering Cultivator Alliance seemed to be quite harmonious. Harmonious? How many people have you seen so far? We will only know when we enter the Alliance capital if they are really harmonious. Madman pouted and then said, "Don't change the topic. Taking advantage of me. I am not done with you. Don't be so petty. When I thought of this name, I really didn't have any other thoughts." Qin Feiyang was helpless. "Only a fool would believe your nonsense." Madman snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang was speechless. He really didn't mean it. Why didn't he believe him? He wasn't a kid, so was there a need to take advantage of him? An hour quickly passed. A majestic ancient city finally entered their line of sight. The city covered an area of tens of thousands of miles and was divided into 5 districts, namely the East District, West District, South District, North District, and Central District. Compared to the ice and snow outside the city, the inside was completely different. Flowers bloomed like brocade, and there were layers upon layers of trees. It was a scene of spring. On the street, there was an endless stream of people and carriages. It was extremely lively. The city gate that Qin Feiyang and Li Qiye were at was the eastern city gate. In front of the gate, there was a stone tablet that was hundreds of feet tall. There were 2 grand words carved on it, Alliance Capital. "This is the Alliance Capital. I am really looking forward to it," Madman muttered. In front of the gate, there were no guards. There were all kinds of people, but even so, everyone consciously maintained order and entered the city in an orderly manner. "There aren't even guards?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "Wrong. Look at the city wall." Madman glanced at the city wall above the city gate with a trace of seriousness in his eyes. Qin Feiyang raised his head to look, and his pupils immediately shrank. A black-haired old man sat cross-legged on top of the city wall. His eyes were slightly narrowed, and his entire body was emitting a suffocating pressure. Qin Feiyang and Li Wuyo could not see through his cultivation at all. However, from the aura he emitted, they could tell that the old man's cultivation was stronger than Zhao Eryong's, but slightly weaker than Elder Hua's. Obviously, the old man was an unparalleled peak dominator. A peak dominator is definitely more effective than a guard. The Alliance Capital is heaven for the members of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, but it's a tiger's den for us, Madman thought. Even if it's a dragon's lair or a tiger's den, I still have to go. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He followed Madman into the back of the crowd and entered the city. The moment they passed through the city gate and entered the city, a warm current rushed toward them. Compared to the bone-chilling weather outside, the city was extremely comfortable. A light breeze blew over, like a spring breeze, caressing his face. "Brother, come in and take a look. We have good jade. Beauty, we have many exquisite accessories in our shop. Come in and take a look." There were all kinds of shops on both sides of the street, and the items inside were dazzling. Some were hawking, some were bargaining, and it was extremely lively. From the looks of it, it is quite harmonious, Madman muttered. Who cares if it's harmonious or not? Sense it carefully. The crystal vein and soul line energy in the city is many times denser than outside. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Madman was slightly taken aback. He carefully sensed it, and his eyes flashed. "Let me check with my divine sense." "Are you crazy? There are so many people, and you dare to release your divine sense?" Qin Feiyang glared at him. Releasing one's divine sense in such a place would definitely attract the attention of others. Madman's expression froze, and he smiled embarrassedly. "Sorry, I was too excited and didn't think of it. Let's find Zhao Eryong's family first, then discuss the next step of the plan," Qin Feiyang secretly said. He grabbed a young man next to him and smiled. "Brother, where is Lord Zhao Eryong's home?" "Zhao Eryong." The young man was slightly taken aback. After thinking for a while, he asked, "Are you talking about the Zhao Eryong who guards the border?" Yes. We came from the West City, so we don't know the exact location of Lord Zhao's home." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Lord Zhao's home is in the suburbs. Keep walking down the street on the left. When you see a quiet courtyard, you can ask someone. The young man smiled. Thank you, brother. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. You're welcome. The young man waved his hand and turned to leave. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and also turned to the left street. They didn't stop on the road. After traveling for more than 100 miles, the number of people on the street gradually decreased. The shops on both sides also gradually decreased. A moment later, finally, they saw a secluded courtyard. Individual courtyards were neatly arranged. Each courtyard was surrounded by wooden fences. Some courtyards were planted with fruit trees. The red fruits emitted a faint fruit fragrance. Some courtyards were planted with flowers and plants. There were about 10,000 courtyards in the entire area. There were trees on both sides of the road. There were children playing on the side of the road. There were old people sitting in the shade, drinking tea, playing chess and chatting. It was exceptionally peaceful. Qin Feiyang walked to the side of two old men playing chess and looked at the chessboard curiously. One of the old men was full of smiles. The other old man had a worried look. The smiling old man said, "Can you do it? If you can't, just admit defeat." "Shut up! Don't disturb my thoughts." The worried-looking old man glared at the old man without hiding anything. "This is already a dead end. What are you still thinking about?" The smile on the old man's face became wider. "Haven't you heard of coming back from the dead?" The worried old man glared at the other party again and then continued to look at the chessboard. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang said, "Although it seems to be a dead end, it's not that there's no chance." The two old men were slightly stunned. They raised their heads and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Two elders, can this junior make a move?" "Do you know how to?" The smiling old man looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "If this little brother doesn't know how to, do you dare to speak?" The worried old man glared at the smiling old man, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Little brother, let me see if you can help me revive this chessboard." Qin Feiyang nodded. After carefully observing for a while, he picked up a black chess piece and placed it somewhere on the chessboard. Immediately, a dead-end game was revived just like that. The smiling old man's expression froze. The worried old man was also stunned, and then he clapped his hands and applauded. "Put yourself in a dead end and fight to live. This move is wonderful." Then he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang and praised, "Little brother, I really didn't know that you were proficient in this." No. It's just that when I was bored as a child, I played with my father." Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand. As the prince of the great Qin, he was naturally proficient in everything. "It's indeed amazing." The smiling old man nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. "Then let's play a few games." No. This junior still has something to deal with, so I won't disturb you two elders. This junior just wants to ask, where is Lord Zhao Eryong's home? Qin Feiyang said. The two of them were slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, "Who are you to Zhao Eryong?" Qin Feiyang smiled calmly and said, "I am Zhao Yang's friend. I came from the West City to look for him." "So it's like that. Compared to you, that brat Zhao Yang is far inferior." The two of them shook their heads. "Why do you say that?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. "Aren't you his friend? Don't you know that he is a loafer with nothing to do? All you know is to follow a group of scoundrels, eat, drink, and play all day long." The two of them shook their heads. "Everyone has their own good." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "Their house is in the first house at the intersection ahead. You can go and find it yourself." The smiling old man said. "Thank you." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and thanked him, then followed the madman and left quickly. Why is such a polite young man hanging out with a scum like Zhao Yang? The smiling old man looked at Qin Feiyang's back, shook his head and sighed. Why do you care so much about young people's affairs? Hurry up, it's your turn. This time I will definitely beat you, old man. The worried old man was no longer worried, and his face was full of a smug smile. Dozens of breaths later, Qin Feiyang and the madman walked to the intersection and looked at both sides. Above the door of the courtyard on the left, the words Xiao House were engraved. It should be here. The madman looked at the courtyard. The courtyard covered an area of about 300 feet, surrounded by high wooden fences, and there were a few peach trees planted inside. Some of the peaches had matured and were bright red. On the side, there was a pavilion with carved beams and painted rafters, quite exquisite. Inside, there was a 3-story loft. The gate of the courtyard was closed. Qin Feiyang stepped forward and gently knocked on the gate of the courtyard. "Who is it?" After a while, a woman came out of the attic. The woman was wearing a white long dress. Her long hair was tied up, looking dignified and elegant. That's right. She was Zhao Eryong's wife, Wang Shui. Creak. When the gate of the courtyard opened, Wang Shui looked at Qin Feiyang and the madman. Her expression was slightly stunned, and asked suspiciously, "You are?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "We were asked by Lord Zhao Eryong to come and find you." And Wang Shui was slightly stunned and quickly retreated to the side, saying, "Come in and talk." The two nodded and entered the courtyard. After Wang Shui closed the gate, she led the two into the attic hall and said with a smile, "Wait a moment, I'll make a pot of tea." No need to be so troublesome. Qin Feiyang quickly waved his hand. "All right then." Wang Shui nodded and then asked nervously, "Did something happen to Eryong?" "Madam, don't be nervous. Zhao Eryong is fine." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Chapter 3108. It really scared me to death. I thought something had happened to him. Wang Shui heaved a sigh of relief and asked with a smile, "How should I address you?" "My name is Emo Wuji. His name is Emo Wuhui." Qin Feiyang laughed. "You are brothers?" Wang Shui looked at the two of them curiously. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Who is your brother?" Madman secretly stared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang ignored him and scanned the hall. He looked at Wang Shui and asked, "Where is your son Zhao Yang and your daughter Zhao Xiaojin? Why don't I see them?" "Xiaojin is cultivating upstairs. As for Yang at this point, Wang Shui revealed a worried look and said, "I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. That good-for-nothing brat. Who knows where he is fooling around now?" "Good-for-nothing?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Could it be that he was a delinquent youth? He asked, "Then can we find him now?" This, Wang Shui hesitated for a moment, then stood up and smiled. "Then wait a moment. I'll get Xiaojin to send a message to him." "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded. Wang Shui turned around and quickly went upstairs. She walked to a door and gently knocked on it. "I'm here." A clear and pleasant voice came from inside. Wang Shui pushed the door open and entered. She saw a young woman with a hot figure, dressed in tight clothes, sitting cross-legged on a praying mat. "Mother, what's the matter?" Zhao Xiaojin looked at Wang Shui suspiciously. Wang Shui closed the door and said in a low voice, "There are two strange young people outside. They are asking around. I have to send a message to your father to confirm." "Strange people?" Zhao Xiaojin was startled and immediately stood up. Wang Shui took out the sound transmission crystal. Buzz! Not long later, Zhao Eryong's figure appeared. Seeing that it was Wang Shui, Zhao Eryong understood and asked, "Are there two young people called Emo Wuhui and Emo Wuji who came to our house?" "Yes." "I was just about to ask you, who are they?" Wang Shui nodded. "Why do women ask so much? You just have to remember, whatever they say, you just have to do." Zhao Eryong said, "Father, you don't look too good. Did something happen?" Zhao Xiaojin suddenly asked. You're as talkative as your mother. Zhao Eryong glared at Zhao Xiaojin. Mom gave birth to me. If I'm not like Mom, then who am I like? Zhao Xiaojin pouted. All right. Zhao Eryong shook his head helplessly and sighed. Anyway, just listen to them. Don't make this matter public, or it will bring us a lot of trouble. All right. Both mother and daughter nodded. So be it. Finished speaking. Zhao Eryong turned off the sound transmitting God's stone. Mother, why is it that the more I look at father's face, the more I feel that something is wrong? Zhao Xiaojin looked at Wang Shui suspiciously. I also feel that it's a little strange. But your father is definitely doing this for our own good. All right, let's go down together and find your useless brother. Wang Shui shook her head and walked out of the room with Zhao Xiaojin returning to the hall. Wang Shui looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Xiaojin, it's them. Who exactly are you guys? What's your relationship with my father? Zhao Xiaojin walked to the opposite side of Qin Feiyang and sized them up and asked suspiciously. Xiaojin, don't be rude. Wang Shui hurriedly reprimanded. Looking at their age, they are about the same as me. Do you want me to be respectful and polite to them? Zhao Xiaojin pouted. You, Wang Shui helplessly glared at Zhao Xiaojin, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I'm sorry, my daughter doesn't know how to be polite. It's okay, she's very straightforward. I quite like it. Madman grinned. Like it? Who wants you to like it? Don't talk nonsense. If others hear it, they will think that there is some unknown relationship between us. Zhao Xiaojin glared fiercely at Madman. Madman was stunned. Qin Feiyang, on the other hand, had a smile on his face. This little girl was quite interesting. Wang Shui shook her head helplessly and said, Xiaojin, don't mess around. Hurry up and contact your brother. No. Zhao Xiaojin shook her head and looked at Qin Feiyang and said, If you guys don't make it clear, I won't do anything. Up to you. Madman shrugged. Anyway, he wouldn't be the unlucky one. There was no hurry at all. You, Zhao Xiaojin glared at Madman. That, Miss Xiaojin, we were entrusted by your father, so don't make things difficult for us. Qin Feiyang smiled. Then what exactly is it? I have a feeling that it's not that simple. Zhao Xiaojin was suspicious. That's what it is. In short, if you don't do as we say, I'm afraid your family will be in danger. Qin Feiyang said. What danger? Zhao Xiaojin was shocked. The danger of losing your life. Qin Feiyang smiled. Don't scare me, I'm not scared. Besides, my father guarded the border. Even if he didn't have any merits, he still worked hard. How can we be in danger? Zhao Xiaojin had a look of disbelief. I say, woman, why are you so long-winded? If I tell you to contact him, do you believe that I won't beat you up? Madman raised his eyebrows. Beat me up? Zhao Xiaojin was stunned. He looked at the madman in dissatisfaction and said, Come. I want to see if you have the ability. The corner of Madman's mouth twitched. What kind of woman is this? Can't she act like a woman? Qin Feiyang sized up Zhao Xiaojin with a trace of surprise in his eyes. He was wondering why Zhao Xiaojin was so confident. It turned out that she had a perfect undead stage cultivation base. This cultivation base was stronger than him and Madman. It was really amazing for a woman to be so strong. Why, you don't dare! Let me tell you, I'm a famous genius girl in the Alliance. Why would I be afraid of you? Zhao Xiaojin had a look of disdain. Madman's face darkened. She's still going strong? Genius girl. It was obvious that she had big breasts but no brain. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but glance at Zhao Xiaojin's chest. It was really quite big, like two majestic mountains, trembling. What are you looking at? Zhao Xiaojin noticed the madman's strange gaze and immediately covered her chest as she shouted angrily. Seeing this, Wang Shui's face also had a trace of displeasure towards Madman. Cough, cough! Madman coughed and looked at Wang Shui with an awkward expression. That, Auntie, we still have things to do. Hurry and contact Zhao Yang. Wang Shui sighed and looked at Zhao Xiaojin. Xiaojin, don't forget your father's previous instructions. Hurry and contact your brother. Humph! Zhao Xiaojin and the others snorted and took out the voice transmission Godstone. We can't afford to offend this woman. Madman shook his head. Isn't that obvious? Qin Feiyang smiled secretly and then said to himself, however, while the elder brother is fooling around outside, the younger sister is cultivating hard at home. I guess this Zhao Yang can't even catch up with 1/10 of his younger sister. Then aren't we wasting time? Madman frowned. There's no other way. I've been entrusted with this matter. We can't just leave him alone. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Buzz. At this time, a shadow appeared. It was Zhao Yang. At this moment, he was sitting in a restaurant, eating and drinking with a few young men of the same age. There were even girls beside him, and he was having a good time. Feng Qin Tower again? Zhao Xiaojin frowned. Damn girl, it's none of your business. Zhao Yang glared at Zhao Xiaojin and asked impatiently, What's the matter? Zhao Xiaojin said expressionlessly, Nonsense. Why would I send a message to a scum like you? Haha, Xiaojin, how can a sister scold her brother like that? If others hear this, won't they laugh at your brother? The few young men beside her laughed happily as they looked at Zhao Xiaojin. You have the face to speak? You're all a bunch of scum, and you're still afraid of being heard? Why don't you go and ask, who doesn't know what kind of trash you are? Zhao Xiaojin was completely merciless. The few young men didn't take it seriously at all, as if they were already used to Zhao Xiaojin's attitude. Yes, yes, yes. We're all scum. Genius girl, what do you want? Zhao Yang asked impatiently. Come back immediately. Zhao Xiaojin said. What? Zhao Yang frowned. Come back first. Zhao Xiaojin said. Boring. Zhao Yang glared at Zhao Xiaojin and directly turned off the sound transmission Godstone. Bastard, you actually dare to turn off the sound transmission Godstone. I must beat you to death today. Zhao Xiaojin immediately cursed. Cough, cough. Xiaojin, watch your temper. There are still guests here. Wang Shui hurriedly comforted her, looking at Qin Feiyang and Zhao Yang with an extremely awkward gaze. Watch what? My temper is this bad. If you don't like it, don't look. Zhao Xiaojin glared at Qin Feiyang and Zhao Yang. Why are you glaring at us? Madman raised his eyebrows. She's indeed hot-tempered. Qin Feiyang secretly laughed. To put it nicely, she's hot-tempered, but to put it bluntly, she's a tigress. Madman pursed his lips. Wang Shui looked at Qin Feiyang and Zhao Yang and smiled apologetically. Sorry for making a fool of myself. It's fine, it's fine. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. At this moment, Zhao Xiaojin kept the sound transmission Godstone and walked outside. Xiaojin, where are you going? Wang Shui hurriedly asked. Mother, don't stop me. This time I have to beat him up no matter what. Lazy and idle, worse than a pig. It doesn't matter if he embarrasses himself, but don't embarrass father and you. After saying that, Zhao Xiaojin walked out without looking back. Sigh. Wang Shui sighed, her face full of helplessness. Madman turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, Then what should we do? Wait. Qin Feiyang shook his head. How troublesome. If he knew that Zhao Eryong's children were so troublesome, he wouldn't have bothered with this matter. Two little brothers, I'm really sorry. Wang Shui once again looked at Qin Feiyang and Zhao Yang apologetically. It's fine. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said with a smile, I admire your daughter. She's straightforward, and doesn't hypocritical, but your son is really a bit. At this point, Qin Feiyang didn't continue because he believed that Wang Shui could understand it herself. Chapter 30:109. Hearing this, Wang Shui bitterly smiled. With a son like this, it would be a lie to say that she didn't have a headache. I'll make some tea. Drink while we wait. Wang Shui stood up and smiled. Thank you, Auntie. Qin Feiyang smiled. No. Wang Shui waved her hand and quickly left. Feng Qin Tower. Just from the name, one would know that it was a brothel located in the East City and was sought after by the rich kids of the East City. Why did it have to be the rich kids of the East City? Because the Alliance City was too big. The hedonistic sons of rich families in the various districts basically sought pleasure in their own territory and rarely went to other districts. Zhao Yang, get out here. Zhao Shaojin stood at the entrance of the Feng Qin Tower with her hands on her hips and fiercely stared inside. With this girl here, Zhao Yang is going to suffer again. He deserves it. Look at Shaojin. Not only is she beautiful, she's also so hardworking. She's already at the peak imperishable realm at such a young age. Look at Zhao Yang. As an older brother who knows how much older than Shaojin, he's still only at the peak ninth heaven realm. If it wasn't for Zhao Eryong supporting him, the Zhao family would have been ruined by him. The people on the street immediately stopped and looked at Zhao Shaojin with admiration, but when Zhao Yang was mentioned, the disgust and disdain on their faces were undisguised. It's Shaojin. A brothel keeper ran out with a face full of smiles. Shaojin, if you have something to say, why don't you and Zhao Yang go home and talk? Don't cause trouble here. After you caused trouble last time, I didn't have a single customer for half a month. This kind of place should have closed long ago. Zhao Shaojin sneered. Look at what you're saying. We're just trying to make a living. The brothel keeper smiled and looked at the two workers hiding at the door. You too. Hurry up and call Zhao Yang out. The two workers looked at Zhao Shaojin with a face full of fear. They heard about it. They hurriedly ran to the second floor. Shaojin, calm down. We have an important person here today. We can't cause trouble. The brothel keeper anxiously waited while comforting the hot-tempered Zhao Shaojin. Important person? Zhao Shaojin was stunned and said in disdain, What important person would come to your place? I'm not joking. The one who came this time is 10th Elder's grandson, Feng Wanyan. The brothel keeper whispered. Feng Wanyan? Zhao Shaojin was slightly taken aback. He coldly harumphed. Who cares whose grandson he is? As long as I don't see Zhao Yang, I'll tear down your Feng Qin Tower. Zhao Eryong was a high-level hegemon, and he had always been guarding the border. Thus, the majority of the people in the eastern part of the city treated Zhao Eryong with great respect. Because of this, they were also very polite to Zhao Eryong's family. This was Zhao Yang's capital as a playboy. As for Zhao Shaojin, there was no need to mention her. Not only was her natural talent outstanding, she was also natural and unrestrained. Almost all the young men in East City regarded her as a goddess. However, how could a talented and beautiful girl like Zhao Shaojin take a fancy to an ordinary person? Therefore, many of her pursuers were not only unable to win her heart, but were also beaten up badly by Zhao Shaojin. Not long after, the two workers ran down and looked at the procuress. Young master, Zhao is not coming down. What? Not coming down? The brothel keeper immediately panicked. With Zhao Xiaojin's fiery temper, wouldn't she explode on the spot? As expected, Zhao Xiaojin pushed the procuress aside and angrily stormed into the Feng Qin Tower, causing a commotion in the Feng Qin Tower. Goddess Shaojin, why are you here? If there's anything you need, just tell me, and I'll do it for you. A young man with a pale face ran up to her, trying to curry favor. Scram! Zhao Shaojin glared at him. The young man's neck shrunk back, and he immediately ran to the side. "My great-aunt, please don't act recklessly, okay?" The procuress chased after her, her face filled with worry. She looked towards a private room on the second floor and called out, "Young Master Zhao Yang, I beg you, please come out." "How troublesome!" Zhao Yang's voice sounded from inside. Then the door opened and Zhao Yang walked out with a displeased expression, looking at Zhao Xiaojin. The young men who were drinking with Zhao Yang also ran out and laughed. "Xiaojin Mimi, it's not appropriate for a girl to come here. Hurry up and go back. Don't disturb us men having fun." "What do you know besides eating and having fun? A bunch of good-for-nothings." Zhao Xiaojin glared at them, then looked at Zhao Yang and said, "Scram immediately." Hey, are you the big brother, or am I the big brother? How can you talk to your big brother like that? Do you believe that I'll teach you a lesson?" Zhao Yang said with a dark expression. "Teach me a lesson?" Zhao Xiaojin was stunned, and a sinister smile appeared on her face. "What are you trying to do?" Looking at the smile on Zhao Xiaojin's face, Zhao Yang could not help but feel his scalp go numb. That smile was too familiar. Every time it appeared, he would definitely suffer. "What are you trying to do?" Zhao Xiaojin landed in front of Zhao Yang. Zhao Yang turned around and fled. Zhao Xiaojin kicked him, and Zhao Yang immediately fell to the ground like a dog eating feces. He was in an extremely sorry state. "Xiaojin Mimi, there are so many people watching. Save some face for your brother." A few young men muttered softly, "Are you guys itching for a beating too?" Zhao Xiaojin glared at them. "All right, just pretend that we didn't say anything. As long as you're happy." Seeing that the situation was bad, the young men hurriedly retreated. It was best to protect themselves. "You're not loyal." Zhao Yang got up, glared at them, and fled. Zhao Xiaojin chased after him and grabbed Zhao Yang's ear. Zhao Yang was only at the peak ninth heaven realm, and Zhao Xiaojin was at the peak undead realm. In front of Zhao Xiaojin, how could he fight back? "Ouch, ouch, ouch!" Zhao Yang immediately wailed. "You can still feel pain? The face of my Zhao family has been lost because of you." Zhao Xiaojin shouted angrily. He picked up Zhao Yang and threw him down the stairs like trash, smashing a table below. "Oh my God, can't you go out first?" The brothel keeper looked at the messy hall and felt heartache. A table was a small matter, but if this continued, the Feng Qin Tower would definitely be torn down. At that time, the losses would be great. Zhao Xiaojin did not say anything and landed in front of Zhao Yang. "An elder brother is like a father. You're being disrespectful. Be careful of being struck by lightning." Zhao Yang shouted as he retreated. "You dare curse me to be struck by lightning?" Zhao Xiaojin's face darkened, and she kicked him again. "I've heard that Zhao Xiaojin is a bad-tempered woman. Seeing you today, you really live up to your reputation." But at this moment, a faint laugh sounded. Zhao Xiaojin raised her head and saw a purple-clothed youth standing on the third floor. Beside him was a white-clothed youth. Both of them were about 8 meters tall. Their figures were tall and straight, and their auras were extraordinary. "Young Master Feng, young Master Zhang, you must help me. Otherwise, with this girl's temper, she will definitely tear down my Feng Qin Tower." The brothel keeper looked at the two of them as if she had seen her savior. "Feng Wanyan, Zhang Sanbao." Zhao Xiaojin frowned. "Xiaojin, I haven't seen you for a while, and your temper has risen again. This is not good. Be careful that you won't be able to get married." The white-clothed Zhang Sanbao laughed. "Whether I can get married or not is my own business." Zhao Xiaojin snorted. Zhang Sanbao said, "Don't say that. If you really can't get married, I'll marry you." "Scram! Why don't you go look in the mirror?" Zhao Xiaojin's face darkened. Zhang Sanbao was not angry, as if he was already used to Zhao Xiaojin's temper. However, the purple-clothed youth was unhappy. He glanced at Zhang Sanbao and said, "How can a woman be so arrogant?" "Brother Feng, Xiao Jin's temper is like this. Everyone in the East City knows that she is very kind. Please don't take offense." Zhang Sanbao laughed. "Not just the East City. Who doesn't know the genius Xiao Jin?" The purple-clothed youth lowered his head and looked at Xiao Jin, saying, "Do you know who I am?" "The famous Grand Elder's grandson. Who doesn't know Feng Wanyin? You're all jackals of the same tribe, hedonistic scum." Xiao Jin's face was full of disdain. Feng Wanyin raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "You have to make yourself clear. How am I scum?" As the grandson of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's 10th elder, who didn't treat him with respect. This was the first time someone dared to be so impudent in front of him. People who come to this place, if they're not scum, then what are they? With that, Xiao Jin kicked Zhao Yang again and shouted, "Go back!" Zhao Yang stood up pitifully and walked out. "Stop right there." Feng Wanyin frowned and landed in front of the door. He looked at Xiao Jin and said, "This is the first time someone dares to call me scum in public." "Brother Feng, this is just a joke. Don't be angry." Zhang Sanbao saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly landed in front of Feng Wanyin and comforted him. "Do you think this is a joke?" Feng Wanyin glared. Zhang Sanbao's expression froze, and he looked at Xiao Jin and said, "Xiao Jin, hurry up and apologize to Brother Feng." "Him?" Xiao Jin's face was full of disdain. Look, what kind of attitude is this?" Feng Wanyin was furious. "She's just like that. Please don't take offense." Zhang Sanbao smiled apologetically. Yes. Young Master Feng, Xiao Jin's mouth is famous in the East City. Don't bother with her. Actually, she's not a bad person. Besides, we're all from the Alliance capital. Don't make things difficult for her." The few young men who were drinking with Zhao Yang also hurriedly went up to apologize for Xiao Jin. Feng Wanyin looked at Zhang Sanbao, then at the few young men, and looked at Xiao Jin and said, "All right, I'll let you off for everyone's sake, but it's best if there's no next time." However, Xiao Jin did not want to pay attention to him at all, and dragged Zhao Yang out. "Look, she didn't even say thank you." Feng Wanyin was furious. All right. It's bad for your body to be angry. I'll accompany you for a few drinks." Zhang Sanbao smiled apologetically as he dragged Feng Wanyin upstairs. "I won't let her off." Feng Wanyin snorted coldly. The few young men looked at each other, turned around, and chased after Xiao Jin. "What are you guys doing?" Xiao Jin turned to look at them, her brows furrowed. "Xiao Jin, I say, you're too impulsive. Why did you go against Feng Wanyin? We've all heard of this person's personality. He's arrogant and can't tolerate the slightest bit of sand in his eyes. He just said that he won't let you off. So, be careful of his revenge." The few young men sighed, looking a little worried. "Why would I be afraid of his revenge?" Xiao Jin was disdainful. "He's definitely not afraid of revenge. But what about his grandfather? It's not like you don't know his grandfather's status in the Alliance capital. With just a word from his grandfather, your family won't have a good life in the future," the few young men said. Hearing this, Xiao Jin's beautiful brows immediately furrowed, and she said, "Got it, I'll be careful." "All right then." The few young men nodded, looked at Zhao Yang, and said with a smile, "Brother Zhao, let's meet again another day." "Okay." Zhao Yang nodded. "Meet again? I say, can't a few of you work harder? Look at what you've become now." Xiao Jin glared fiercely, as if she expected better from them. The few young men chuckled and ran away. Chapter 3110. In the attic, Qin Feiyang and Madman drank tea while chatting with Wang Shui. Finally, Zhao Xiaojin brought Zhao Yang back. Wang Shui stood up and looked at the embarrassed Zhao Yang. She couldn't help but be angry and said, "You only came back when your sister went to find you. Mother, why are you still fierce to me? She is the one who should be fierce. A girl is so unruly. How can she marry in the future? How can she take care of her husband and children?" Zhao Yang pouted. "You're still talking?" Zhao Xiaojin stared. Zhao Yang shrunk his neck and hid behind Wang Shui. "All right, don't you see that there are guests here?" Wang Shui looked helpless. "Guests?" Zhao Yang was slightly stunned. Only then did he notice Qin Feiyang and Madman sitting at the side. He looked at the two of them suspiciously and asked, "You are—" "We are your father's friends." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "Liars, definitely liars." Zhao Yang immediately pointed at Qin Feiyang and Madman and looked at Wang Shui and Zhao Xiaojin. What the hell? Qin Feiyang and Madman were stunned. "My father is a great mastery dominator, and the two of you are at most imperishable realm. How can you be my father's friends? So you are definitely liars. Tell me honestly, what are you trying to do?" Zhao Yang shouted. Qin Feiyang and Madman were speechless to the extreme. Zhao Xiaojin's face also darkened and kicked him on the spot. "Why are you kicking me again?" Zhao Yang said angrily. Zhao Xiaojin said with a dark face, "We have already sent a message to father to confirm that they are not liars." "They are not?" Zhao Yang was stunned and then smiled awkwardly. Looking at Qin Feiyang and Madman, he waved his hand and said, Sorry, it's instinctive." Madman looked at Zhao Yang and transmitted his voice. "Although this person is a playboy, he is quite fun." Qin Feiyang smiled. He stood up and looked at the three of them. He said, "Then let's get straight to the point. Right now, I'm going to send you to a place. However, after you enter, don't ask anything. Just stay obediently." "What do you mean?" Zhao Yang looked at Qin Feiyang confusedly. Wang Shui and Zhao Xiaojin were also suspicious. "Didn't I just tell you not to ask anything?" With that said, Qin Feiyang prepared to send the three of them to the Black Tortoise world. "Old Qin, why don't we leave one of them outside? We're not familiar with this place. If you stay outside, you can lead the way for us and tell us about the situation in the Alliance capital." Madman suddenly transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang was taken aback. After pondering for a while, he said inwardly, "That makes sense. Then tell me who should stay outside." Madman looked at Zhao Xiaojin and Zhao Yang. "What are you looking at?" Zhao Yang murmured. "Why is it getting weirder and weirder?" In the end, Madman locked his eyes on Zhao Yang and transmitted his voice. "Women are too troublesome. Let's go with him." "But why do I feel that he might be even more troublesome?" Qin Feiyang mumbled. "Wang." Suddenly, the divine voice-transmitting stone was activated. Everyone regained their senses and looked at Wang Shui. Wang Shui took out the divine voice-transmitting stone, and a figure appeared. It was Zhao Eryong. "Father, sister, she bullied me again." Zhao Yang immediately complained to Zhao Eryong. "Father, don't listen to his nonsense. He was the one who went to Feng Chen Lu to fool around first." Zhao Xiaojin said. "Shut up," Zhao Eryong coldly shouted and asked, "Did you offend someone?" What? The brother and sister were stunned. Just now, the 10th elder sent me a message, telling me to immediately return to the Alliance capital to hand in the token and retire at home. Zhao Eryong said in a deep voice. "Hand in the token?" Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and hurriedly asked, "Is it the token to enter and exit the barrier?" "Yes." Zhao Eryong nodded. "What's going on? Why did the 10th elder suddenly want you to hand in the token and retire at home?" Qin Feiyang frowned. This token was extremely important. If Zhao Eryong really handed it over, then he wouldn't be able to leave the barrier in the future. At the same time, Wang Shui and the brother and sister were also stunned. Zhao Eryong looked at Zhao Yang and Zhao Shaojin and said, "I'm asking you a question. Hurry up and answer." "Father, this has nothing to do with me. It's sister." She offended the 10th elder's grandson, Feng Wanyan. Zhao Yang quivered and immediately pointed at Zhao Shaojin and said to Zhao Eryong, "So it's like that. I knew it. He wouldn't want me to hand in the token for no reason and retire at home." Zhao Eryong pondered and looked at Zhao Shaojin and asked, "Shaojin, how did you offend Feng Wanyan?" Zhao Shaojin also had a trace of anger between her brows. She didn't expect him to take revenge on her so quickly. As expected, he was scum, since he didn't have the ability to take revenge. He had the people behind him do it. "Speak." Wang Shui also anxiously looked at Zhao Shaojin. Offending the 10th elder's grandson is not a small matter. "It's like this." Zhao Shaojin briefly recounted what had happened in the Feng Qin Tower. "Why are you so muddle-headed? Feng Wanyan is the 10th elder's grandson. No matter how much of a spoiled brat he is, it's not up to you to criticize him." "That's enough. The 10th elder is starting to take revenge." Zhao Eryong was furious. "But I'm speaking the truth. He's a spoiled brat, a scum." Zhao Shaojin coldly snorted. "You're being unreasonable." Zhao Eryong fiercely glared at her. "Enough. It's not your daughter's fault. It's that Feng Wanyan's fault. He's too narrow-minded to take revenge on you over such a small matter." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "That's right. He's simply a despicable person." Zhao Yang nodded. "You're still talking?" "If you were willing to obediently come back, would I have gone to Feng Qinlu? If I didn't go to Feng Qinlu, would I have offended Feng Wanyan? In the end, the main culprit is you," Zhao Shaojin angrily said. Zhao Yang smiled embarrassedly. "Enough. You guys can leave first. I have some private matters to discuss with these two little brothers." Zhao Eryong looked at Wang Shui and the siblings and said, "You still have something to hide from us?" The siblings looked at Zhao Eryong suspiciously. Go out. Don't make your father angry again." Wang Shui drove the two of them away. After the three of them left, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and closed the door. Then he set up a soundproof barrier. Zhao Eryong looked at the two of them and said, "If it wasn't for you guys, I would be quite happy to go back and retire. I finally have time to accompany my family, but now..." Speaking of this, Zhao Eryong frowned. "I know, this token can't be handed over no matter what." Qin Feiyang nodded. Zhao Eryong said, "The 10th elder has already personally spoken. How can I not hand it over?" "Don't be anxious. Let me think about this first." After saying that, Qin Feiyang lowered his head and muttered to himself, "I thought it would go smoothly, but I didn't expect such a thing to happen. Eryong, I really want to beat your son up." Madman looked at Zhao Eryong and said angrily, "I also want to beat him up, but he's my flesh and blood after all. I'll teach him slowly in the future. Actually, it's also my fault. I've been busy all these years and didn't have time to discipline him." Zhao Eryong shook his head. At this moment, Qin Feiyang looked up at Zhao Eryong and said with a smile, "The one who tied the bell should untie it. For this matter, we have to start with this Feng Wanyan." When Zhao Eryong heard this, he was shocked. "Don't tell me you want to kidnap him to threaten the 10th elder. How is that possible? If we kidnap him, won't our whereabouts be exposed?" "This matter can only be solved with wisdom." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Then hurry up and deal with it, because I can't delay it for long," Zhao Eryong urged. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. Zhao Eryong turned off the voice transmission stone. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The barrier dissipated, the door opened, and the voice transmission stone was returned to Zhao Shaojin. "What did you guys talk about with father?" Zhao Yang looked at Qin Feiyang and Zhao Shaojin doubtfully. "A way to solve the problem. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. How to solve it? Zhao Xiaojin asked. Whoever is playing tricks. Of course, we have to find that person to solve it. Qin Feiyang smiled. Feng Wanyin. Zhao Xiaojin enunciated each word clearly, then angrily ran out. Xiaojin, don't mess around. Wang Shue's expression changed and quickly chased after Zhao Xiaojin. Auntie, don't worry. We will handle this matter well. You just have to wait for the news at home with peace of mind. Qin Feiyang stopped Wang Shui and said with a smile. But Wang Shui frowned. Don't worry, we will know what to do. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Looking at the smile on Qin Feiyang's face, Wang Shui inexplicably felt more at ease. Qin Feiyang looked at Madman and said with a smile, Let's go, we will also go take a look. Sure, let's go take a look at the grandson of the 10th elder and see what kind of character he is. Madman smiled cruelly. I will go too. Zhao Yang roared with a look of wanting to see the world in chaos. That's for sure. Your sister runs so fast. We still need you to lead the way. Let's go. Qin Feiyang smiled. See, I am still useful. Zhao Yang smiled proudly. Still proud? That's the only use you have. Wang Shui rolled her eyes. Zhao Yang's expression froze, and he said angrily, Mother, how can you hit your son like that? All right, go quickly. Look after your sister, with her temper. Don't cause any trouble. Wang Shui waved her hand. Understood. Zhao Yang nodded and led Qin Feiyang out of the courtyard, heading towards Fengchen Tower. Fengchen Tower, after a round of cleaning, was bustling again. On the 3rd floor, in a private room, Zhang Sanbao put down his wine cup and looked at Feng Wanyan opposite him, asking, Brother Feng, isn't this a bit too much? Too much? This kind of woman needs to be taught a lesson. Feng Wanyan sneered. It's fine to let her suffer a little, but there's no need to target her father. After all, Zhao Er has been guarding the border for so many years. Even if he doesn't have any merits, he should at least have worked hard. This is unfair to him. Zhang Sanbao frowned. He had been secretly in love with Zhao Xiaojin for a long time, but Zhao Xiaojin didn't have such feelings for him and only treated him as a friend. But he didn't give up and persisted. So before, he had been helping to smooth things over and speak up for Zhao Xiaojin's family. But this Feng Wanyan was a proud and arrogant person who cared about his face and refused to let Zhao Xiaojin go. Regarding this, he didn't dare to stop him. After all, Feng Wanyan's family background was there. If he angered Feng Wanyan, not to mention Zhao Xiaojin's family, even he and his family would be implicated. Chapter 30, 111. Fair. Feng Wanyan sneered, and while drinking from his wine cup, he said, Brother Zhang, to think that I treated you as a brother. You are actually so childish. Hearing this, Zhang Sanbao's brows furrowed even tighter. Think about it. Is there any fairness in this world? If I didn't have a good background, do you think they would be so afraid of me and respect me? If I didn't have a good background, would we be sitting here drinking and chatting right now? If that's the case, I'm afraid that even you would look down on me. Feng Wanyan sneered. No. Zhang Sanbao hurriedly waved his hands. Don't be in such a hurry to deny it. You are the same. If you didn't have a powerful father, I wouldn't be sitting here drinking with you. This is reality. The strong are valued and respected, while the weak can only wag their tails and beg for pity. So, don't be so naive to talk about fairness in the future. There is no fairness in this world. Feng Wanyan laughed mockingly. Yes. What else could Zhang Sanbao say? He could only agree. It seemed that this matter was a bit difficult to handle, because it was obvious that Feng Wanyan was determined to make things difficult for Zhao Xiaojin's family, and with his status he was unable to interfere. But he couldn't figure it out. How could there be such a petty person in this world? Was it necessary to make such a big fuss over such a small matter? After all, he was the grandson of the 10th elder. Couldn't he be a little more magnanimous? Feng Wanyin, get out here. Suddenly, an explosive shout sounded from outside. Zhang Sanbao immediately trembled, and the wine in his cup spilled out. What was this grand aunt doing here again? Wasn't the matter big enough? At the same time, Feng Wanyin raised his eyebrows. Zhang Sanbao's eyelids twitched slightly and hurriedly laughed. Brother Feng, calm down. I will go out and chase her away. Wait, Feng Wanyin said. Zhang Sanbao looked at him suspiciously. Feng Wanyin raised his head and drank the wine in his cup, then suddenly stood up and said, Originally, I just wanted to teach her a lesson, so that she would restrain herself a little in the future. But I didn't expect that she would take an inch and take a mile. Since that's the case, then don't blame me for being ruthless. After saying that, he turned around and walked to the door, kicking it open with one foot. What should we do? Zhang Sanbao followed Feng Wanyin anxiously. The two of them walked to the room and stood in front of the railing. They looked down at the hall and saw Zhao Xiaojin standing in the middle of the hall, angrily with her hands on her hips. She looked like an angry tigress. The brothel keeper, the girls in the restaurant, and the customers all retreated far away, afraid that they would be implicated. The current Zhao Xiaojin was clearly different from before. When he came to Zhaoyang before, he was just angry, but now he was furious. Everyone understood Zhao Xiaojin. At this time, Zhao Xiaojin absolutely could not be provoked. Zhao Xiaojin, what are you doing now? Hurry up and go back. Zhang Sanbao shouted. Zhao Xiaojin turned a deaf ear to him. He looked at Feng Wanyin and said, I'll take responsibility for my own actions. If you have any means of revenge, come at me. Don't do anything immoral. Revenge? What's the situation? Everyone looked at each other. It wasn't a big deal before, so why was he taking revenge? You guys still don't know. Just a while ago, this 10th elder's grandson, young Master Feng Wanyin, asked his grandfather to make things difficult for my father. Zhao Xiaojin scanned the crowd around him and sneered. What? Just such a small matter, and he alarmed the 10th elder? Everyone looked at Feng Wanyin in shock. Isn't this a little too petty? They were all young people, so it was inevitable that there would be some friction. They could just settle it themselves, so why did they have to alarm the 10th elder? He even went to make things difficult for someone else's father. Wasn't that bullying? You all have seen it now, right? This is our 10th elder's grandson. With his actions, he is fully deserving of being called a grandson. Zhao Xiaojin sneered. These words were already quite rude. He directly called Feng Wanyin a grandson and did not give him any face at all. Zhang Sanbao's expression changed slightly when he heard that. He hurriedly looked at Feng Wanyin. His face was indeed extremely gloomy. He immediately looked at Zhao Xiaojin and shouted, Zhao Xiaojin, are you done fooling around? Get lost. Humph. Zhao Xiaojin snorted coldly and turned to leave. Stop. Feng Wanyin spoke, his voice filled with a bone-piercing chill. Zhao Xiaojin stopped and turned to look at Feng Wanyin. He sneered and said, What? Did I touch your sore spot? You're still talking about it? Zhang Sanbao shouted angrily. I'm still talking about it. Zhao Xiaojin also had a stubborn temper. He looked at Feng Wanyin and said, Other than relying on your grandfather to abuse your power, what else can you do? You're just a pile of dog shit. Other than disgusting people, you have no other use. The corners of everyone's mouth twitched. This girl really dared to scold him. Outside the restaurant, Qin Feiyang and Madman had also rushed over. When they heard these words, a wry smile appeared on their faces. It seemed that Zhao Xiaojin was already very restrained in front of them. Zhaoyang, this sister of yours is a bit valiant. Madman glanced at Zhaoyang beside him, only to see that Zhaoyang also had a wry smile on his face. He sighed and said, We're still a step too late. Now that we've completely offended Feng Wanyin, how can our family survive in the alliance in the future? You still know how to worry? I thought that you only know how to eat, drink, and play without a care in the world. Madman looked at Zhao Yang in surprise. What's the point of life if you don't eat, drink, and play? Besides, who told you that eating, drinking, and playing without a care in the world? What kind of logic is that? Zhao Yang rolled his eyes at Madman and looked inside the restaurant. His face was full of worry. In the restaurant, Zhao Xiaojin was overbearing. Feng Wanyin's face was as dark as water. The brothel keeper, the girls in the restaurant, and the guests didn't even dare to breathe loudly. As for Zhang Sanbao, he was also exhausted. How could he help? There was no way to help at all. Not talking? That's true. What I said is the truth. You can't find a reason to refute it. Go back early. The road outside is not easy to walk on. If you accidentally fall and hurt your precious body, our East City can't afford to bear the consequences of the 10th Elder's anger. Zhao Xiaojin sneered and turned to walk outside again. The people blocking the door all retreated to the side and secretly gave Zhao Xiaojin a thumbs up. On one hand, they were all familiar with Zhao Xiaojin and understood him. Although his temper was a bit wild, he was kind-hearted and treated his neighbors well. On the other hand, because of such a small matter, Feng Wanyin alarmed the 10th Elder and made things difficult for Zhao Xiaojin's father. So, they all supported Zhao Xiaojin from the bottom of their hearts. Did I let you go? Feng Wanyin said sinisterly as he stared at Zhao Xiaojin's back. Zhao Xiaojin turned to look at Feng Wanyin and said, I still need your permission to leave. Do you really think of yourself as someone important? My great-aunt, can you take it as me begging you? Don't provoke him again. Zhang Sanbao sent a sound transmission with a worried expression. This has nothing to do with you, and it's not that I'm being overbearing. He's going too far, Zhao Xiaojin thought. I know, but Zhang Sanbao furrowed his brows, but before he could finish speaking, an exceptionally loud voice rang out. Since young Master Feng is not convinced, then fight one-on-one with Zhao Xiaojin. Whoever's fist is harder will have the final say. The one who spoke was Madman. Everyone looked at Madman in unison. Why were there so many reckless people today? Since young Master Feng was not convinced, then fight one-on-one with Zhao Xiaojin? These words were obviously humiliating Feng Wanyin again. Zhao Yang also did not expect Madman to suddenly say such a thing, and hurriedly shouted in secret, Why are you joining in the fun? Don't you think it's chaotic enough? What do you know? Madman rolled his eyes at him and walked into the restaurant. He looked at Feng Wanyin and Zhao Xiaojin and smiled. The two of you, what do you think of my suggestion? I'm very willing, but I'm afraid someone doesn't have the guts. Zhao Xiaojin sneered. Madman's gaze turned and landed on Feng Wanyin and said with a smile, Young Master Feng, since we've already said so much, as a man you can't back down. He could tell at a glance that Feng Wanyin's aura was at the Great Achievement Undead stage. Zhao Xiaojin was at the Great Achievement Undead stage, a small difference. Therefore, under normal circumstances, Feng Wanyin would definitely not dare to fight with Zhao Xiaojin. But now, with Madman's provocation, he had to fight even if he didn't want to. Because if he didn't fight, it would be equivalent to showing weakness, and he would definitely become the joke of the Alliance capital in the future. At that time, everyone would point at him behind his back. Look at this grandson of the 10th Elder. He didn't even dare to accept a woman's challenge. What a coward. Brother Feng, it's bad for your body to be angry. Why bother with a woman? Zhang Sanbao looked at the gloomy Feng Wanyin and advised with a smile. He was actually giving Feng Wanyin a way out. If Feng Wanyin knew what was good for him, he would nod on the spot and agree with Zhang Sanbao, not arguing with a woman. This way, Not only would he be able to get away with it logically, but it would also show his magnanimity. But Feng Wanyin didn't do that. To be more precise, the anger in his heart was about to make him lose his mind. Under the eyes of everyone, she actually provoked him again and again. As the grandson of the 10th elder, his pride would definitely not allow it. All right, let's go outside the city and fight one-on-one. Feng Wanyin nodded word by word, a sharp light flashing in his eyes. Straightforward, Madman clapped his hands, turned his head to look at the people around, and said with a smile, "Then let's go, let's all go and watch the show together." Go, go, go. At that moment, many busybodies rushed towards the city gate. Xiaojin glanced at Madman and also followed him outside. "Tigress, before the battle starts, remember to talk to him about your father." Madman transmitted his voice. Xiaojin was stunned, and only then did she understand that Madman did this to help create an opportunity for negotiation. "Wait, Tigress? Bastard, you actually dare to call me a tigress? Wait. After this lady finishes dealing with Feng Wanyin, I will slowly deal with you." Xiaojin fiercely glared at Madman, and then left without looking back. "It's not certain who will deal with who." Madman laughed secretly. Chapter 31:12. But at this moment, Madman felt a cold gaze sweeping over him. Madman was slightly taken aback. He turned around and saw Feng Wanyin walking over while staring at him coldly. Obviously, Madman's actions had angered Feng Wanyin. But not only did Madman not care, he even smiled and encouraged. "Young Master Feng, good luck." "Humph." Feng Wanyin snorted and walked past Madman. Zhang Sanbao also walked over and frowned at Madman. "Are you Little Jin's friend?" "You are." Madman looked at him suspiciously. Zhang Sanbao didn't answer and said angrily, "If you are really Little Jin's friend, you shouldn't mess around with Little Jin." With that, he looked at Zhao Yang and sighed. He didn't stay any longer and quickly chased after Feng Wanyin. "Is this person crazy?" Madman looked at Zhang Sanbao's back in a daze. Zhao Yang said, "He's not crazy. He's just concerned about my sister." "Concerned?" Madman was stunned. "Yes, he has been secretly in love with my sister for a long time, but my sister has no feelings for him." Zhao Yang pursed his lips. "I see." Madman nodded in realization. Let's go out and take a look." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. The three of them followed behind the crowd and walked out of the city. Madman looked at Zhang Sanbao's back and asked suspiciously, "Zhao Yang, why do you look like you don't like him?" "Why would I like a person who has his eyes on the top of his head? Besides, I'm not worthy of him." Zhao Yang snorted coldly. "Not worthy of him?" Madman was stunned and asked suspiciously, "What do you mean?" Zhao Yang pursed his lips and said, "His name is Zhang Sanbao, the eldest son of our East City Lord. At such a young age, he has reached the immortal perfection stage and has comprehended a kind of law." Law. Qin Feiyang and Madman were stunned. They looked up at Zhang Sanbao's back and really didn't recognize it. "I don't like him because of his attitude. Since he likes my sister, shouldn't he be more polite to me? But every time he sees me, it's like he sees a fly and wants to slap me to the clouds. Although I'm useless, I'm not to the extent of being cold." Zhao had a look of disdain. "You have some backbone." Madman looked at Zhao Yang in surprise and mocked. "You can't blame him. You are too much of a playboy. If it was me, I would stay away too." "What do you mean? Have I ever done anything to bully others? Have you done anything that offends the heavens and reason? At most, it's just eating, drinking, and playing. Is that wrong?" "As the saying goes, everyone has their own ambitions. I like to eat, drink, and play, but that doesn't mean I'm a hedonistic son." Zhao Yang was dissatisfied. "Madman, Madman the madman looked at him in a daze. After hearing these words, this person didn't seem to be the spoiled brat he had imagined. Of course. As a young talent in the East City, what kind of young talent haven't I seen? Zhao Yang smiled proudly. Madman and Qin Feiyang were stunned. Young talent? Don't insult the word disgrace, okay? However, from these words, it could be seen that Zhao Yang was indeed a distance away from being a young talent. At most, he could be considered an idler. City Gate. As a large number of people poured out of the city gate, the people outside the city were also shocked. Brother, what happened? A black-clothed man stopped a young man and asked, Zhao Xiaojin and Feng Wanyan are going to have a one-on-one duel. Most of us are just here to watch the show. The young man said with a face full of expectation. Zhao Xiaojin? Feng Wanyan. Two people who can't be found at all. Why are they going to have a one-on-one duel? As soon as the young man said that, everyone started to ask. It's like this. The young man briefly explained the situation to Qin Nan. So it's like this. Then this Feng Wanyan is really too much. The grandson of the dignified 10th elder only has this little tolerance. Isn't he afraid of being laughed at? I support Xiaojin. She is our East City's genius girl. We definitely can't watch her be bullied like this. That's right, I also support her. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation. Most of the people who entered and exited from the East City Gate were from the East City, so they were very familiar with Zhao Xiaojin. Soon, Zhao Xiaojin and Feng Wanyan also walked out one after another. In front of the city gate, there was a vast glacier. Zhao Xiaojin directly took a step out and stood above the glacier. She was dressed in a tight black outfit that accentuated her petite and exquisite figure. Her soft long hair was tied behind her back, making her look extremely capable and experienced. Zhang Sanbao looked at Zhao Xiaojin, and the admiration in his eyes became even stronger. Then he looked at Feng Wanyan and whispered, Brother Feng, why don't we forget about it? At this point, if I still retreat, then I'm not a man. Feng Wanyan snorted coldly and landed in front of Zhao Xiaojin. Qin Feiyang and Madman also walked out from the city gate and raised their heads to look at the two of them silently. Boom! Zhao Xiaojin's delicate body shook, and a terrifying aura instantly roared out. Perfection undead stage. Feng Wanyan sized up Zhao Xiaojin, and a lecherous smile suddenly flashed across his gloomy face and said, It's too boring to fight like this. Why don't we make a bet? A bet? Zhao Xiaojin was slightly stunned. Wasn't this exactly what she wanted? She said expressionlessly, What bet do you think? If you lose to me, you will be my woman and listen to me in the future. Feng Wanyan said. Fuck, so that's what he's planning. Zhao Yang cursed in his heart. At the same time, Zhang Sanbao's expression froze when he heard this. He should have thought that with Feng Wanyan's personality, this matter was not so simple. Perhaps from the beginning, he had already taken a fancy to Zhao Xiaojin, so he targeted Zhao Eryong. In other words, all of this might be Feng Wanyan's plan. Zhao Xiaojin was stunned, and she sized up Feng Wanyan with a strange expression and asked, You don't have a fever, right? I'm just asking if you dare. Feng Wanyan spoke in an overbearing manner. Why wouldn't I dare? Zhao Xiaojin smiled coldly and asked, But what if I win? If you really win, then you can name any conditions. Feng Wanyan said, All right, if I win, then ask your grandfather to withdraw the order, and you have to kneel down and apologize to me in public. Zhao Xiaojin spoke word by word, and her words were sharp, and she didn't give him any leeway at all. Kneel down in public. Feng Wanyan raised his brows. That's right. Zhao Xiaojin nodded and sneered. If you don't dare, then pretend I didn't say anything. How arrogant. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Feng Wanyan laughed from extreme anger. Then it's a deal, bring it on. Zhao Xiaojin smiled coldly, and her face was filled with provocation. Bang! Feng Wanyan took a step forward, and his aura surged as he threw a punch at Zhao Xiaojin. Zhao Xiaojin smiled contemptuously, raised her slender arm, and pointed at Feng Wanyan's fist. That was right. Just one finger. The two collided with a loud bang. Zhao Xiaojin only used the strength of one finger to send Feng Wanyan flying, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. A great achievement, Inextinguishable Realm Cultivator is actually competing with a perfected Inextinguishable Realm Cultivator in terms of strength. Isn't he looking for trouble? The crowd below looked at Feng Wanyan and could not help but shake their heads. It seemed that the grandson of the chief elder was a fool, because only a fool would do such a thing. Whoosh! Zhao Xiaojin sent Feng Wanyan flying with one finger, and then took the initiative to attack. Her attacks were like a storm, so fast that it was too much for the eyes to take in. Obviously, she had to end this boring battle as soon as possible. Bang! Bang! After a while, Feng Wanyan's nose was bruised and his eyes were swollen. He was in a sorry state, and like a meteorite, he smashed into the glacier below. He can't even withstand a single blow. The 10th elder is so powerful, but I didn't expect him to have such a useless grandson. His reputation will be ruined in the future. Everyone shook their heads. Zhao Xiaojin retracted her aura, looked at the shattered glacier below, and said indifferently, "It's over. Please keep your promise." After saying that, she flew towards the city gate. Over. Suddenly, a burst of laughter sounded from below the shattered glacier. Zhao Xiaojin was startled. She stopped and looked down. Zhao Xiaojin, you still treat this young master as trash. Do you think you can win just like that? Isn't that too ridiculous? Accompanied by a loud explosion, the glacier within a radius of tens of thousands of miles directly collapsed. Feng Wanyan rushed out from inside, his entire body filled with hostility. Still not giving up? Zhao Xiaojin raised her eyebrows and coldly snorted. Then I'll send you down again. She took a step forward and instantly landed in front of Feng Wanyan. Her divine power surged as she slapped out with all her might. Feng Wanyan suddenly raised his head and stared at Zhao Xiaojin. His big hand shot out like lightning and grabbed Zhao Xiaojin's wrist. What? Zhao Xiaojin was shocked. She was actually unable to break free from Feng Wanyan's grasp, and Feng Wanyan's strength seemed to have increased by several times and was not weaker than her in the slightest. Feng Wanyan's face revealed a lewd smile and said, "I really like you more and more. I can't wait to press you down on the bed right now. Scram!" Zhao Xiaojin flew into a rage out of humiliation and directly kicked towards Feng Wanyan's groin. Damn! When Madman saw this scene, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. What a valiant woman! However, Feng Wanyan seemed to have already expected this. He raised his other arm and grabbed Zhao Xiaojin's ankle again. He laughed. These legs are so beautiful. As he spoke, he even used his fingers to draw. After being taken advantage of again and again, Zhao Xiaojin was truly angered. Her divine power roared out, and like a huge dragon, it rushed towards Feng Wanyan. Feng Wanyan laughed sinisterly and retreated explosively. With a wave of his hand, a surge of divine power appeared. Boom! The two divine powers collided with a loud bang. The wind whistled and the void distorted. The two of them retreated a few steps at the same time, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of Zhao Xiaojin's mouth. What? Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. The perfect immortal Zhao Xiaojin was actually tied with the phenomenal immortal Feng Wanyan? What's going on? Zhao Yang also looked at Qin Feiyang and Qin Feiyang in astonishment. Can't you see? Feng Wanyun's cultivation is not phenomenal immortal. Madman shook his head. Not phenomenal immortal? Then could it be? Zhao Yang was shocked and immediately looked at Feng Wanyun, his eyes filled with shock. This person was actually hiding his strength. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.